Take that off real quick. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. There we go. You know, there's two buttons here. And sometimes I click the wrong ones. I clicked the wrong one today. That's what happens. But anyway, what I was saying was thank you for everybody that's with us on tonight's program. We're broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope Live. If you have not already, subscribe to the channel or click that bell. Please do so you can be alerted to the latest from LTMB. It's already July 23rd. This year keeps churning them out. We have a lot of things in store for tonight's program, a lot of different topics to talk about. It's been a long 5-day break as it always is, but glad to be back. Feeling good.
You
feeling good?
You feeling good, man?
Feeling good.
I'm feeling good too, man.
Feeling good. Energized a little bit. I'm sure by Thursday we won't be as energized.
I would say by next Thursday.
By next Thursday?
I would say by next Thursday, that's when we're probably going to be a little more taxed because we have the debates coming up.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing an extra show.
Something's coming tomorrow, though, right?
Something's
Something's coming tomorrow, though. Yeah.
Something is coming tomorrow.
Yeah, something's coming tomorrow.
Oh, you mean that thing our commander-in-chief has been tweeting about?
Yeah.
Endlessly.
Yeah.
Endlessly.
He might tweet it. He might live
Oh,
tweet
no. Might. He is going to go on a Twitter tantrum. He's already started. Yeah. So there's a lot of side things going on. A lot of stuff we won't even talk about on the show. But there's a lot of side stuff going on. Like, I forgot your boy Christopher Wray was testifying today.
Yeah, he was testifying today. That's right.
What's up? Protest in Puerto Rico. What else? And your neck of the woods. There's like some floods and stuff, ain't it?
Yeah.
Your neck of the woods, and they still got those power outage issues.
Yeah, power outage up in
some funny information I came across today. R. Kelly's crisis manager stepped down. I was like,
not doing so good of a job. I mean,
I don't know if it's he's not doing such a good of a job. Maybe his job is very, very difficult. You know what I'm saying?
It's a difficult job.
It's a difficult job. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, being a spokesperson for the president. Same thing, you know what I'm saying? Because essentially you are a crisis manager.
Yeah.
24/7.
24/7, and that's why they didn't want to parade Sarah Huckabee Sanders out in front of
the
media.
Canceling, doing away with all
those press
conferences.
Those media press conferences. Yeah. Another update we talked about last week, the 9/11 Compensation Victim Fund, the Victim Compensation Fund. Senate reached an agreement today to fund it. I believe it'll be funded for a few decades, I believe.
Like 2092.
Yeah. So it's good. That's good. I mean, why it take so long? You know what I'm saying? Why it take so long? These are people that you said that you were never going to forget, and it took this long.
Yeah, people like Rand Paul wanted to make sure that there was not going to be waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
That would occur because of this, the passage of this fund. We're trying to make sure we took care of everything. That's why.
Yeah.
20 years later.
He was also concerned about the spending, though. The spending. Oh, yeah, because Mike Lee was talking about the fraud or the oversight.
The oversight.
Yeah, and Rand Paul, he was concerned about how much money would add, to our already bloated deficit, I guess.
20 years later.
Rand Paul.
Like we didn't have enough time
Yeah.
to iron those things out. It would be different if they were bringing up those issues like right after. But they're bringing it up almost 20 years down the line.
Yeah. After many years of saying that we'll always be here for you. All right, so we're going to start with Bernie Sanders tonight. A few different topics about Bernie Sanders to begin the show. So let's just get going with it. All right. Senator Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign staffers are unionized, coming to terms on a collective bargaining agreement earlier this year. Recently, some staffers have been unhappy with their pay, as it doesn't equate to $15 an hour. So this is from Yahoo. Under the terms of the contract, field organizers who are typically in their 20s earn $36,000 a year with free platinum health insurance coverage, 20 days of paid time off a year, and 30 days severance pay in the event of layoffs. The workers claimed, however, that their long work hours, often 60 hours a week, effectively keep their compensation below $15 an hour, according to the Post, which noted the gap between those working conditions and Sanders' leading role in the movement for a $15 an hour federal minimum wage. So the Post that they're talking about, that's the Washington Post, they recently revealed the situation in an article with the help of some of the staffers on Senator Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign. And this was something that did not sit well with the majority. So Yahoo continues, the decision by an individual worker or workers to pursue their own strategy in the media is a sore point for many on the staff. UFCW, which is the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 400, confirmed to HuffPost that it did not sanction any discussion of the negotiations with the media. The leakers did not solicit the consent of other members of the bargaining unit either, according to 3 staff members who spoke to HuffPost. So to be clear, the Washington Post made it evident that the management team of the Sanders campaign was negotiating in good faith with the staffers. And on Tuesday, an agreement was made. So in a statement, the union said, both the campaign staff and management have engaged in this process in good faith and to achieve a mutually agreed upon outcome. This is what democracy in the workplace looks like. So details on the particulars of this agreement.
So why is this a story?
I'm getting there. See, so details of the particulars of this agreement were not made available by the campaign or by the union. So just like, see, you're preempting what I'm talking about. It seems like there's no reason for this to be a story other than, I guess, the leak to the Washington Post. That's really the only kind of controversy, but it's a very minimum story.
What we probably need to figure out about the leak is, like, well, we probably won't figure out who it came from, but were they an individual that was involved in the process, in the negotiation process? Were they one of the individuals who was directly involved in the negotiation process? Were they one of the individuals that was a part of this field campaign staff, field organizers? But one thing that needs to be highlighted is this was a specific group within the campaign. This wasn't salaried employees. I mean, this wasn't like hourly employees.
Yes,
This
it
is
was
salaried
salary
employees
work,
that agreed upon a contract to work a certain amount of hours for a certain amount of pay. Is that right?
Well, the contract stipulated how much they're going to get paid.
The hours, and
it's just a contract for a wage.
It was a contract for a wage. Right. So basically, it's a salary contract to work a certain amount of hours that fit within the $15 an hour wage, right?
But we know that with a lot of different work, different types of employment, if you're a salary employee, oftentimes you can work more than 40 hours on the job. So what these workers found was that, what they were getting compared to what they were working did not equate to $15 an hour. That was their gripe. They brought it to the management team. They brought it to the Sanders campaign. And they entered into negotiations to fix the problem. Right. And then the problem ultimately was fixed. They came to an agreement.
That makes sense. When you sign a contract, based on certain conditions, right? And when those conditions start to change, you renegotiate.
Right. So correct? That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
Now, the story, because there is a story here, but it's a very disingenuous critique of what actually happened here. So to prove that point, we're going to show you a few takes on this. So first, Newsweek Bernie Sanders' 2020 campaign will limit working hours for organizers to guarantee $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, while technically true, this still suggests something nefarious. So going on, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who is formerly from Fox News, the rules of economics exist even within the campaign of a socialist. Hal Lambert, MAGA Index from Twitter. Bernie Sanders announced he will cut his staff's hours to pay for their $15 an hour minimum wage. This is exactly what every business will have to do if the minimum wage is raised. Welcome to the real world, Bernie, rather than the theoretical world of socialism. Charlie Kirk, in order to pay for a $15 an hour minimum wage for his campaign staffers, Bernie Sanders is cutting their hours. If he implemented his policies on a federal level, 75% of businesses would cut hours and 3.7 million jobs would be lost. He knows his ideas are trash, yet he still forces them on America. And finally, we get to the Daily Wire. Bernie Sanders plans to cut staffers' hours to pay $15 minimum wage, complains about them talking to media. So the central thesis in all of this criticism seems to be that the workers' hours had to be cut to pay for that $15 an hour minimum wage.
Is that actually the story? Is that actually a good summation of what is occurring in this particular situation in regard to these union negotiations? No. So it's like they're trying to shape the story that in order to pay them $15 an hour, he has to lower
the hours.
I mean, $15, he has to lower the hours. But usually when that discussion takes place, when it has to do with fair compensation concerning corporations paying their workers fairly, we're not talking about 40 hours a week, right? The suggestion is these businesses have to lower the amount of hours their employees work by to 20 and 15.
Because they wouldn't be able to pay for them earning that wage and 40 hours
full
a week.
time.
Yeah.
So in this situation with Bernie's campaign, they're still working full-time hours.
Still working full-time hours. And the other thing about this is that while they were in these negotiations to come to an agreement, to reach an agreement with the Sanders campaign, their hours were cut. So they're technically right about the hours being cut because like I told you at the beginning, their hours would sometimes reach 60 hours a week, which is definitely a lot. But while they were in these negotiations to fix the problem, the Sanders campaign cut their hours to 40 hours a week.
Basically what they were supposed to be. So it's not like
regular full-time hours.
Regular full-time hours. So they're not being cut to 30 or 20 hours.
No. They're still working full-time hours. Now, again, we don't know the details of the agreement that was reached, and we don't know if it's going to be limited to 40 hours going forward, or if they could still, reach 50, 60 hours a week. But whatever agreement the staffers seem comfortable with, and probably if they are going to reach that 50, 60 hours a week, they're probably going to be making the $15 an hour. And there's no story here.
There's no story here. And
actually, there's a good story.
Oh, it's actually a good story, meaning that, the purpose of a union, right, is what? The purpose of the union is to negotiate on behalf of the workers.
To advocate for the workers.
And that's what's going on.
Right.
And, I think when it comes to unions, talking about wages and compensation is only one aspect of the work that they do. What else do they advocate for?
Oh, man, they can advocate for work conditions, safety at work. They can advocate for hours off, breaks, days off. I mean, unions have been very beneficial
so it's not just
in
about,
advocating for workers throughout the years.
It's not just about wages or pay.
No,
it's about conditions too. And the amount of hours worked qualifies as a condition.
Right.
Now, if you're talking about work that has to be done at any place, and campaigns included, what's most likely going to happen, the work is still going to get done. It's just going to get redistributed to either other field organizers or the people who work hourly. It's not like the work is not going to get done. So basically, these people's needs are getting taken care of, basically working the hours that they're supposed to, and the work is going to be distributed. Do they think the work is not going to get done?
That's not, they don't care. Again, this is a disingenuous critique of Bernie Sanders and his operation. Bernie Sanders' operation is the only one in town, the only one in the presidential field that has unionized their workers, has allowed their workers to unionize. So to criticize a campaign that has put something in place that will correctly address the problems of workers, enter into some kind of negotiation to fix the problem, then fix the problem, everybody's happy, and then to criticize the whole process and say that, oh, see, Bernie's getting a lesson in economics, so you can't do these things. You're gonna have to lower hours to be able to afford your employees. It's completely false. It's completely trash. But this is where we are. This is not the only disingenuous argument that we've heard that's been critical of Bernie Sanders.
Where did the initial article originate? Was it wasn't it the Washington Post?
Yeah, the original one started at the Washington
Post.
But they did, I have to be fair, in the Washington Post article, they did make it clear that the Sanders team was entering into these negotiations in good faith. They did make that clear.
This is one of those cases where their intention went beyond the details. Because they've done this before.
Of course.
Because they were expecting people to focus on the headline and the story rather than the details within the story. So people ignore the details as if there's some sort of irony to the situation.
Right. Which there's not. And yeah, like we showed you the tweet from Newsweek, which doesn't really do this story justice. And Fox News and other conservatives, they're just taking this opportunity to
concern trolling and making bad faith arguments.
Exactly. They're framing this in a way in which it really is not. There's no story. Like I said, I keep saying there's no story. No, there's a good story here. And it's a good story because there was actually a union in place and they fixed the issue with the employer.
So unions go to union. Unions doing what unions do. And that's a problem.
But these arguments are anti-union.
That's essentially what we're talking about here. So it's both anti-Bernie and anti-union at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, yeah, no doubt. All right, so let's move on. All right, so this is the second story concerning Senator Bernie Sanders. The second round of Democratic presidential debates is set to commence next week, July 30th and 31st. The first night will have both Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren on the same stage. On Sunday, MSNBC's Up with David Gura discussed the two candidates with the panel. Frequent contributor MSNBC's Zerlina Maxwell suggested that she's more clear about what Senator Warren's vision is, more so than Senator Sanders. So here's what she had to say.
They obviously have the same similar set of values in terms of what the government should be doing for the American people and how you should regulate that government so that it works for everybody, right? They agree on that. They don't agree on the approach to get there. And in Elizabeth Warren's case, I actually know in detail how she wants to get there. And I would say that in Bernie Sanders' case, there are certain policies like Medicare for All that he put out a lot more detail than some of his other ideas. I don't have as much of the detail of how we're going to transform the healthcare industry, to quote, something he says all the time, right? And so how are you going to transform it? Elizabeth Warren, on the one hand, will tell me exactly how. Sometimes Bernie Sanders does not. So I think it's very important to have them on the same stage at a debate so you can make that direct comparison.
So leading up to this debate, of course, a lot of the discussion is going to be about Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren because they are considered the two leading progressives in the race. Definitely at the top of the race right now in the polling. So this argument that Zerlina Maxwell is making that, and of course, Senator Warren always says that she has a plan for that. She's made that like her motto, have a plan for that, have a plan for that. To target the issue of healthcare. Zerlina Maxwell is saying that she's not really clear about how Bernie Sanders is going to transform the healthcare system in the United States, but she is clear about what Elizabeth Warren is going to do. How could that be so?
How could that be so when it is Bernie's plan that Elizabeth Warren is co-signing? Well, rhetorically.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that, but rhetorically, how can that be possible when Warren's plan is Bernie's plan? Bernie is the mastermind. The last time we checked, Bernie was the mastermind
But Warren knows how to do it better.
No. Warren knows how to explain the details better and how we get there. Bernie, not so much. Even though it's his plan. I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how that's possible.
I don't either. It does. Look, and we talked about this. Warren, while many progressives want her to be a champion of Medicare for all, and in some instances it seems like she is, and in others she wavers. In her town hall on CNN several months ago, she wavered when asked the question about Medicare for all. Now, on the first debate on that stage, she was probably the strongest voice on her night. She was the strongest voice that was a proponent for Medicare for all. But again, at this point, because of how she has wavered, how could you be clear what direction she wants to go in?
And not just that. Okay, if you're going to make a point, you have to kind of give examples. Mm-hmm. That's my problem. If you're going to, give an analysis on a major news network, you have to explain exactly the point you're trying to make by using concrete examples. You have to say, Bernie doesn't say this, while Elizabeth Warren says this about a particular policy proposal. And that wasn't done there. It was just...
She just threw it up.
She just threw it up. I'm confused about Bernie. I don't know the details. But with Warren, I got the details. That's really all she said. Again, if she would have provided concrete examples to go along with the talking point, right, okay, they probably would have still been bullshit.
But we would have had something
at least we would have
to discuss, actually.
To discuss.
And I'm sure she would have been afforded that time to actually get that out. I don't think she was pressed for that. I mean, she could have got that out in a minute. In 30 seconds, she could have laid out, okay, well, he doesn't say this. Elizabeth Warren, she does say this.
I don't think the purpose was to afford time to do that, because I don't think the purpose was to do that, to offer something of substance in that moment. So okay. It's not that they wouldn't have given it to her. It's that particular moment, that segment wasn't designed.
Oh, I get it.
I
get it.
It was designed for something else.
It was empty criticism. It was designed to be empty criticism.
It was definitely. It was. They made a space for hollowness.
Okay. All right. So let's get to some more hollowness.
This is worse than hollowness.
Yeah, this is worse. The next clip we're going to show you, legal analyst Mimi Rocha, she began to talk, and she's a frequent contributor as well. But she detailed her feelings about this dynamic between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. And she also, educated those who were listening about her particular feelings, what she feels about Bernie Sanders. Take a listen.
I think, having Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren next to each other will really highlight, because for me, as, again, I'm not the political analyst here, but just as a woman, probably considered a somewhat moderate Democrat, Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl. And I can't even identify for you what exactly it is, but I see him as sort of a not pro-woman candidate. And so having the two of them there, I don't understand young women who support him. And I'm hoping that having him next to her will help highlight that, because those are the people that if I were her, I would want to say, well, why are you supporting him and not me if you're going to choose between the two of us?
Now, that was not spliced. So there's no more content to show you.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
You sure that there's no other content?
Like where she
actually elaborated on what specifically made her skin crawl.
No.
She didn't amend it, because I'm sure that's just how she started out. She said she doesn't have anything specific, but Bernie makes her skin crawl. I'm sure that was the beginning. I'm sure later on.
And then she was asked,
so what specifically about Bernie Sanders makes your skin crawl?
And then she went into the explanation of why she gets those types of
I'm sure that occurred.
Bad feelings about Bernie Sanders.
I'm sure we have another clip to play.
And here it is. Nah, it's not there. No, sorry, we don't have anything else. That was it. That was it. And she said herself that she can't explain why.
She can't explain why.
She just gets that feeling.
But see, here's the thing. She did explain why without explaining. Because she says, as a woman. So right there, that suggests a lot. There's a lot of insinuation there. So one, as a woman, Bernie makes her skin crawl. And she doesn't feel as if he's pro-woman, which means he's anti-woman.
It does. Because if you're going to say your skin crawls, that would lead you to
believe that like he's anti-woman, or there are things that he has done, whether it be in his past or recent history, that will point to his disdain for women.
Because it can't just simply be about him not being as good on women.
Yeah, exactly. It's
for
like
your skin to crawl,
he has to support the subjugation
yeah.
of women in some kind of way.
Yeah.
He has to have a history of it. Again, I wish that she would have pointed that out.
Like the particulars.
The particulars.
She did not. She did, again, while saying that she couldn't explain exactly why, she did say that she was, what would consider to be a moderate Democrat. And she questioned why younger women were supporting Bernie Sanders, I guess then and now, back in 2015, 2016 and now, and why they won't be, why they wouldn't be supportive of Elizabeth Warren's candidacy. To think, okay, so again, she wasn't very explicit. Well, she was explicit about her feelings, but she wasn't, I guess, willing to explain why she has those feelings, unless it's true that she can't explain them. But to think about Bernie Sanders' history, to think about the things that he has advocated for and the things that he has not advocated for, the things that he has opposed, what exactly is, where can you point that would be a not pro-woman?
There's nothing you can point
like
to that would give an indication that he isn't, or he's anti-woman, but there's a lot of stuff you can point to that would illustrate that he is actually pro-woman. It's not like these things are hidden or whatever.
Right. Like he doesn't talk about.
He doesn't really. Yeah. I mean, you say he doesn't talk about?
Yeah, like he doesn't talk about.
Oh, like he doesn't talk about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And actually, like, I don't think he talks about him enough. I think people talk about those things for him. Mm-hmm. And if we're talking about specifically pairing him against Elizabeth Warren, because that's what she did, having Elizabeth Warren on the stage with him is going to flesh these things out and going to show the difference between these two candidates and
the fraud that he is.
The fraud that he is, and which one of these candidates appeals to women. Now, which one of these candidates was a Republican until 1996?
Whew. Bringing up some. Whew.
You're
starting with daggers.
I started with daggers. Okay. I got to start with daggers.
Okay, that would be Warren.
Now, not just currently, is their agenda as it concerns women and their place in society, is it much different now than it was in 1996? And actually before then, when Elizabeth Warren was in her 40s. When Bernie was, getting articles written about him in 1972, as far as election profiles when he was governor, entitled A Feminist View of the Democratic and Liberty Union Candidates, op-ed. In 1972, they wrote that about Bernie Sanders, and it was a very glowing article as well. That was in 1990. That was in 1972. In 1991, Bernie tried to add an amendment to the Civil Rights Act that would have ensured that race and sex discrimination would be treated identically under federal law. That was 1992. In 1991. In 1992, Bernie Sanders was quoted as saying, "Breast cancer is in America today is a tragedy of epidemic proportions." Now, he had a plan and a bill, and the Senate version became law in 1992 that addressed that. And let's see. He said, "Without the Freedom of Choice Act, women will need a computer program and a travel guide to find a safe and legal abortion." Now that was concerning abortion, not breast cancer, but that was concerning abortion. So where else do you want me to go? Do you want me to name any other examples?
I don't think you really have to. I think you made your point. But you see, this didn't have to be what it became. If Mimi Roker prefers Elizabeth Warren, I mean, that's cool. That's her prerogative. There's a lot of people that prefer Elizabeth Warren to Bernie Sanders. Cool. I don't. But again, we can have a difference of opinion. We can see issues differently. We can see candidates differently. We can, I guess, put more weight on other things than other people do. I mean, it doesn't matter that to me that she supports Warren over Bernie Sanders. The thing here, though, the issue was about Bernie Sanders being not a pro-women candidate, and she can't even offer up any evidence to explain like how that's relevant, how that is a relevant feeling for her to have. If she disagrees with Bernie Sanders on issues or anything else, cool, but explain why. We can have Elizabeth Warren be pro-women. We can have Bernie Sanders be pro-women and that not be an issue. Now, there's other issues that we can talk about where there are some disagreements. There's some room for disagreement between the two. On pro-women issues, I don't know that I see a lot of daylight between them.
I don't, and I think
Currently.
No, again, and I think the reason why they're just automatically giving Warren that is simply because she's a woman, even though there's really no data or nothing to point to.
And she didn't.
Now, what's interesting is about Mimi is that Bernie Sanders makes her skin crawl. But I do think it's interesting that someone else doesn't make her skin crawl.
Someone else.
Someone else.
Someone else.
Someone else. No, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think we got a visual aid.
Okay.
We got a visual aid.
Got a visual
You
aid?
want to show?
Sure.
Show? Okay.
Sure.
This was back in January, right? This was back in January this year? Yeah, just a few months ago. Question on, looks like Twitter. If the 2020 primary comes down to Bernie versus Biden, who do you pick? And Mimi Roca seems very enthusiastic with saying Biden, Biden, Biden.
Yo, she said it 3 times like she was trying to summon him. Like Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Right, yeah.
Biden. So Bernie Sanders makes her skin crawl, but Joe Biden, causes her, approval nerves to tingle.
Like chanting.
Yeah, like these inclinations of approval inside of her worm brain.
Yes.
To just tingle. Like Biden now, grope and sniff. Grandpa grope and sniff Biden. Biden doesn't make her skin crawl. Also, now if we're talking about being pro-woman, right? And I guess pointing to something, whether in somebody's past that may give an indication how much value they have in regard to valuing a woman's voice. Is there a particular situation we can point to in regard to Joe Biden?
He was the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee back in the 90s. There's one particular case that it comes here. That was the hearing of Anita Hill.
Yes, sir.
Anita Hill hearing that was criticized. Joe Biden was criticized. He still remains, he's criticized today because, no doubt, because he's running for president. But yeah, there's a lot of criticism, invalid criticism of his actions, not the actions. Now again, I'm not going to, say that the Republicans did not have a hand in the shenanigans that took place during that hearing. No, of course they did. But there was somebody that kind of allowed that to happen. And there was somebody that
tried to undermine
Yes.
Anita Hill's testimony.
Right. Didn't bring forth other witnesses that could have testified.
Tried to get her to divulge what she was going to say in her testimony before the actual hearing. Now, why would somebody want to do that? So Mr. Clarence Thomas could have a retort to what she was going to, because they didn't know what she was going to say. They didn't actually know how much information she was going to divulge in that testimony.
How damaging.
How damaging it was. So they wanted to do damage control. Now, that's just my assumption. I'm just going out on a limb here.
I don't think you're going out too far of it.
Now, he did kind of express some remorse.
Yeah, some sorrow.
Some sorrow, but it was very detached. He basically was sorry for what happened. He wasn't sorry for the role he played.
But did not look inward. Did not look inward.
Did not look inward.
I didn't do it.
But she's okay with
Yes,
Biden.
yes. Mimi Roca is good with Biden, so much that she chanted his name 3 times when it came down to a Bernie and Biden type of situation. Now she did say that she was a moderate Democrat. So on that, look, of course we have problems with moderate Democrats. I don't think they're going to do anything that really advances this country in a significant way. So we disagree on a host of issues. But if she's a moderate Democrat, it makes all the sense in the world that she would be more supportive of Biden than Bernie Sanders. But she brought up the issue of women. She brought up the issue of Bernie Sanders making her skin crawl because he's not pro-women. We already talked about the Anita Hill hearings in the 90s. You talked about how Biden's nicknames, Grandpa Grope and Sniff, getting a little bit too close to the ladies, right? Getting a little bit too, not just adult women either. not just
doesn't
adult.
make her skin crawl.
Doesn't make her
about
skin
Biden.
crawl. No.
Something tells me this is not about women, or whether Bernie Sanders supports women. Because again, the information is readily available.
And also, we
Listed off
talked
a few
about
things.
a few weeks ago. We talked about the Hyde Amendment as it related to Joe Biden and his consistent support of the Hyde Amendment before being criticized about that during his current presidential campaign, and then a day later, after all of that criticism, him coming out and saying, "Oh, I can't support the Hyde Amendment anymore." That doesn't make her skin crawl. Bernie Sanders does.
You know what that's about. Remember, she said she's not a political analyst. That's what she said, right? She's a legal analyst.
So this is all about feels.
She's a legal analyst. I want to say she's a prosecutor in New York.
Yeah, I think she was a state's attorney.
She's a state's attorney.
She was, I think.
She was a state's attorney. Okay.
Yep. Mimi Roca. It's going to continue. This isn't going to be the last time that we talk about disingenuous, phony criticism of Bernie Sanders. We're only in 2019. This is the middle of 2019. We got a long way to go. Not even at the second debate.
They started.
Not at the end of the year. Not at the first caucus or primary. They're starting early.
It was there the last election cycle. It was there, but it wasn't like this.
No, but he's of course more visible now.
He's more visible.
He's more known, so they got to start heavy, early.
They got to put more work in.
Of course. And this time in 2015, he really was. I mean, again, his notoriety was climbing, but still, he was nowhere on the same scene as somebody like Hillary Clinton. It was still not even possible to many people that he was even going to challenge her. So why engage in these kind of disingenuous arguments so much? It's useless, waste of time. But now it's not a waste of time.
You know why it's
not a waste of time. No.
Oh, see, yeah, it's not a waste of time now because they know he's a big threat.
Yes, and he has a large amount of bodies behind him. Money too, but he has a large amount of bodies behind him too, supporting him.
What happened to the, unity? And this is something that both CNN and MSNBC were preaching, right? Unity and, not throwing, negative accusations or unfounded accusations.
Personal attacks.
Yeah. Amongst Democratic candidates. What happened to that? Again, we've already said that the reason why that kind of a mindset exists. It only exists to protect certain candidates. So when, MSNBC and individuals on CNN issue that talking point or issue that request, to individuals providing commentary about the candidates, they're doing that for particular candidates. They don't. That doesn't apply to candidates.
Oh, it's not across the board. No, definitely not. No.
They're saying don't hit the candidate that we like.
Right. People like Biden, hands off, but Bernie, have at it, man.
Yo, free for all.
Yeah. All right, so let's stay with Biden. All right. Democratic presidential candidate and former Vice President Joe Biden unveiled his criminal justice plan on Tuesday, and it was very evident how much he wanted to distance himself with himself. I guess his old self. Presumably, his old self.
That could be a good thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
That could be a good thing.
Yes, I guess so. He posted a video on social media, so we wanted to show that to you.
Equality, equity, fairness, decency. These words are the basis for the American creed.
That's why I propose a comprehensive criminal package in this campaign. It begins with passing the Safe Justice Act. But my plan goes further. No mandatory minimums, the end of private prison, additional funding for drug courts, bail reform, no juveniles at all in adult prisons, mandatory treatment, not jail for those with drug addiction, decriminalizing marijuana, automatically expunging records for marijuana conviction, job training and education while you're in prison.
No one should be going to jail because they are addicted. They should be going into rehabilitation.
For all our problems, I have to say I've never been more optimistic about the nation's future. One of the reasons is because of the perspective gained over my years of public service. The public is ready. They are ready. They've had enough. I believe my criminal justice reform package is as strong or stronger than anyone else's. I'm amazed how far we've come, but I know how much further we have to go and what we're capable of doing. And we can get there together.
Hard hitting, man.
I have some advice to give Biden's campaign. How about just use images of him and not use his voice? That's just me. That's just the way it came off to me. Because equity, decency, fairness. It just came off weird. You know what he sounded like? He sounded like Fire Marshal Bill from the show on Living Color. Let me tell you something.
Jim Carrey, huh?
Yeah, he sounded like Jim Carrey.
Wow.
A lot of people are probably not old enough that watching our show to even remember that. But if you have a chance, go look it up. It felt like I was watching or listening to a campaign ad that was being narrated by Fire Marshal Bill. But one thing I did notice is there was a lot of black people in that ad. A lot of black people. A bunch of black people.
But that just happened. That's just coincidental. Oh, hold on. You talking about because the subject was criminal justice? Mm-hmm. Oh, Biden wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't do that.
Biden wouldn't
He
do
would
that.
not do that.
Exploit black people like that? No, Biden would not do that.
But I mean, is he coming around? Because, to start this segment off, what'd you say?
Yeah, he was distancing himself
From himself. So now he's turned over a new leaf.
It looks like it.
Because, when he was kind of advocating for his crime bill, he was talking about how he didn't care about root causes.
Did not care one bit.
They need to keep the streets safe.
Yup.
This is where him and Bernie Sanders separated.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Because it's fair to say that both voted for the bill. Now, how you hold somebody as responsible for voting for it than somebody that authored it, I think that's a little bit going too far. But then even hearing the words at the time of Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden, you hear that they had completely different takes
go look
about
it up
what the effects of this bill would do.
Yeah, just go to C-SPAN, type in Bernie Sanders crime bill in 1994, and you will hear kind of not just a different tone, you will hear a completely different analysis and clearly completely different concerns.
Yeah.
Concerns about the bill. Biden had no concerns about the bill at all.
Mm-mm. And you've made the point too, many times actually, that after the bill, in present day times, Joe Biden has not apologized for what happened, and he's actually even put no regrets, and he's actually even pushed back on the idea that the bill actually created mass incarceration. So the two are very different on the subject of that crime bill. But look. This is the new Joe Biden. This is 2019 Joe Biden. As far as what he was talking about in that video and what is evidenced by looking at his criminal justice platform, there are some good things there, no doubt. He said he wants to end mandatory minimum sentences for non-violent drug crimes, which is definitely distancing himself from himself back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Using treatment as an option rather than incarceration, definitely good. and then the system of penalizing crack user harsher than cocaine users. Again, distancing himself from his previous position, which he advocated for something like that. He said he was ignorant about the facts.
So you're starting to paint a picture here, right? He's distancing himself from himself, but he's not doing it like explicitly. He's doing it by policy.
He is.
So if he's doing it by policy and doing a complete 180, is he suggesting that his previous crime bill policy and his advocacy for that policy, I guess, had some sort of negative effect? Because if he's making a 180, that's kind of what he's insinuating, in my opinion.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that he would look at it as a mistake or that he has regrets about it. On the issue of the crack versus cocaine penalties, he has come out and said that, yeah, that was a bad decision. I was ignorant. They were telling us one thing, that once you go to crack, you can't come back and stuff like that. He said something like that. So he apologized for that. Also, within his current criminal justice platform, he wants to decriminalize marijuana. He wants to expunge marijuana offenses, drug arrests, drug convictions. He wants to make it a Schedule 2 drug, because right now, of course, it's Schedule 1, up there with drugs that have no kind of medical or legitimate medical purpose whatsoever. But he wants to make it a Schedule 2 drug so that research can be done. He does not call for legalization. He calls for legalization of medical marijuana. But in terms of legalization across the board, he wants to leave that up to the states.
See, I was waiting for you to kind of throw something in there that would almost incinerate this whole plan. And to me, that did it right there.
Yeah,
that did it right there.
That's not a good look.
Because what are some things you mentioned in the beginning? His plan to expunge what? All
marijuana offenses.
Prior cannabis use convictions.
Right.
And all incarceration for drug use.
Right.
So, if they're suggesting that all use be legalized, right? Then shouldn't they be advocating that all criminalization or all types of enforcement in regards to cannabis, in regards to possession or use, even if it's recreational, shouldn't they be out in front of that too and not let states decide? Because if the goal and if the plan is to expunge all records, that would include recreational use. So letting states decide on whether to legalize recreational use is counterintuitive and doesn't make any sense, considering the goal is to expunge all convictions. All that includes recreational. So what are they expecting? The states are going to be like, hey, law said no. A law just got passed. This is just hypothetical. All of these convictions expunged. Marijuana convictions or whatever. So you know what? We're not going to pursue any longer. We're not going to pursue these marijuana possession cases. We're not going to pursue. Is that what he is expecting? Leaving it up to the states? He's expecting the states to just stop because the federal government is not going to recognize these convictions?
The appropriate move here for Joe Biden, if everything else is true with Joe Biden, if everything else is true in his criminal justice platform, and he wants to expunge the records of these marijuana convictions, these arrests, if that's true, then the correct decision. Again, and I have to add that he wants to decriminalize marijuana as well. He wants to make it a Schedule 2 drug. If all of this is true, then the appropriate decision would be to call for the legalization of marijuana, as many of his other his challengers for the Democratic presidential nomination, they have done for, as well. Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, I believe, Bernie Sanders, of course. There are many that have called for this. To make it just a Schedule 2 drug, do you know that there's already been a lot of research conducted about marijuana? There's already medical marijuana. So here's the thing. You want more research being done for marijuana, right? To research the uses, the purposes, but you're calling for medical marijuana to be legalized. It seems as though we've already reached consensus in the eyes of Joe Biden that it can be used for a medical purpose.
Are you saying that Joe Biden is behind the times?
Yeah, he's a little bit behind the times. Again, this doesn't look. It's not a good look. It looks like he's making a bad faith argument, and I wonder, like, is this real? I wonder. I'm just saying. Can anybody really take him at his word that this is really what he's about, or is this just a campaign trick? Is this just a lot of people that are on his campaign saying that this would be a good look for you right here? This is on your platform. It's not binding. Of course, you don't have to do any of this stuff because some of the other stuff is ending private prisons, ending the cash bail, and then the death penalty, which he has advocated for years, but all of a sudden now he's against the death penalty. All of this stuff separates him from his former self. And so I guess what he wants the public to feel as though is that he's not the old Joe Biden anymore, which I don't buy it. What are you looking at? Medical Marijuana Research Act of 2017.
Yes.
Okay.
That was under Trump.
Okay.
That was under Trump, but it's actually a continuation of research that was done under Obama. So Obama already started this. They offered government grants to research the use of cannabis and marijuana for medical purposes. Right. So Obama already did that. And Trump just continued that research. So it's already ongoing. So he's making it seem like he's ahead of the curve when he is actually way behind it.
Is tobacco legal? Is tobacco legal? Tobacco's legal, right?
Completely.
Completely legal. Now, there have been many deaths attributed to tobacco use, right?
Yes,
many
sir.
deaths? Many health conditions attributed to tobacco use, right? How many deaths have been attributed to smoking marijuana? Not while doing something else.
Oh, not while doing
Not
something
while
else.
driving or something like this, operating some heavy machinery, something like. No, I'm talking about if you're smoking a cigarette compared to you're smoking marijuana, cannabis. How many deaths have been attributed to cannabis?
Yeah, I could be a little lacking in my research of this issue, but as far as I know, none.
I think it's a zero.
I think it's a big
I think it's a zero. But we need more research being done before Joe Biden can advocate for legalization of marijuana. But on tobacco, we're good.
Like I said, he's way behind the curve.
These are not good faith arguments. These are not good faith arguments. All right. I already talked about that update. Let's go to AOC. Man. All right. 2 Louisiana police officers have been fired for supporting the idea of U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez being shot. This comes from 2 police officers in Louisiana. Former Gretna police officer Charlie Rispoli posted a link to an article titled Ocasio-Cortez on the Budget. We pay soldiers too much. Rispoli also added the comment, "This vile idiot needs a round, and I don't mean the kind she used to serve." Oh, I see what he's doing there. He means that she used to be a bartender, and he's not talking about like a round of drinks. He's talking about an actual bullet. Oh.
Clever.
Oh, it's very clever.
Very clever.
Very witty. Very witty. Of course, this sparked a lot of backlash because we have police officers advocating for somebody to be murdered. So it should be criticized. A lot of people should be very upset about this.
A congresswoman, somebody serving the government.
Yes. Not because she committed a crime, not because she murdered anybody else, and you're talking about like an eye for an eye type thing. No, just because you don't like what she says about how to improve this country. That's why she deserves to be shot. So, Gretna Police Department Chief Arthur Lawson, on Monday, he had a press conference, and he told the media that The department would not tolerate these actions from one of its officers, saying alluding to a violent act. He also said, quote, "This incident we feel has been an embarrassment to our department." Also, he, I guess, revealed that another officer had been terminated as well.
Because he liked it.
Yes.
He liked the post.
Yes. His name is Angelo Varisco. He liked the post on Facebook.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
and an investigation, I guess, turned that up. This post is now deleted.
Why would
but
you
in investigating it, they found that another officer was like, "Oh, you know what? That's witty and that's right on the money. I'm gonna like that."
Why would you even want somebody like that on your police force? You see what I'm saying? Why would they even think something like that was funny, considering who they are? You know why? Because the uniform doesn't do anything to your character. That's why.
We've talked about this many times, I think.
Uniform doesn't
alter your emotions.
It doesn't get rid of your
like
bad or good traits. It's just a uniform.
Any biases?
Any
or
biases?
anything like that?
Any like demagoguery, incendiary type language or
remains.
behavior? It remains. It doesn't just cut off because you
Uniform,
put on a
badge,
uniform.
all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So, the irony of this is the story was totally fake.
And it said as much on the story. Satire.
Yes, it's clearly something that is highlighted by the page itself, that they are satires. The page, what, Tater's Gonna Tate?
Yes.
That's what it was called. Tater's Gonna Tate.
Does that even sound like it's real?
It doesn't matter if it's real. You know why? I don't think they cared, because there's people that don't care whether something is real or not. They just believe it. So they want to believe something about somebody, or they want to have an excuse to hate someone. So
Because they already hate.
they already hate it.
But they need an excuse
They
to,
need an excuse.
I guess, be public about that
Be
hate.
public about that. They need an excuse to be public about
So
that.
they use a fake ass story to say that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez deserves to be shot. For real. She needs to be shot for real.
Even
of course, this is the problem because, look, these police officers do what? Aren't they engaged in customer service? Don't they have customer service as a role?
That's a good way to think of it. Customer service that surrounds public safety.
Yes, they do have to engage with the public, right? And then sometimes they deal with very difficult personalities. But sometimes they deal with personalities that aren't difficult. I mean, there's many different types of person.
Hostile personalities, yeah.
But humans come in every size, shape, and form. Whatever, right? You probably want your police officers that do hold and carry, these mobile instruments of mass destruction. Mm-hmm. You probably want these officers not carrying around those types of feelings and attitudes, those biases and those feelings as if, somebody should be shot over their words.
Those things, because those things could come out in certain situations. Because if you have those inclinations and thoughts and feelings, you don't know when they'll come out and what type of situations they will come out and in or during. So so to be individuals who are tasked with ensuring public safety, this kind of public display of, I would say, it's vitriol, kind of is the antithesis of that, and what the antithesis of what their job is supposed to represent.
What is it again? It's
protect and serve.
Protect and serve. Yeah, I was trying to remember because this doesn't sound like.
Because I can see how see how hard it is to forget that when we're talking about a story
Protect
like this.
And serve, yeah. But this is definitely very. I guess it's relevant to discuss right now. Not only because, of course, a situation like this where a police officer threatens a U.S. Congresswoman, of course that's relevant to talk about. But in today's world right now, in July 2019, when we're coming off of the last week where we had multiple instances of the current president, the sitting president of the United States, referring to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez included, but three others as well, known as or being referred to as the squad. But President Trump calling on them to go back to their countries and also saying that they're racist.
They're anti-Semitic, which is kind of weird because how does kind of Presley Ayanna Pressley particularly get wrapped up in that because she's really not as vocal about Israel as Omar or Talib. And now AOC has said some things, but she's definitely not as vocal as those two. So it's just weird how they all just get wrapped up in that anti-Semitic accusation.
Easier that way. You know, just wrap them up in a blanket and.
Oh, but you were trying to make a connection.
Yeah, like I said, coming off of a week like that, and where you see this type of demagoguery and the chants, "Send her back," referring to Omar, Representative Omar,
initiated by the leader of the United States.
Exactly, and then the next week, or actually just days after. Let me not even say the next week because I can't remember exactly when he put this on Facebook, but just days after that. You see a police officer advocating for one of the squad to be shot.
And even think about it. It's
noteworthy.
And it's noteworthy that it was not even a real article, it was satire, but what if it was real?
What if it was real, right?
What if it was real? Would that justify it?
No.
You see what I'm saying? So bringing up that it was satire and it was fake is one thing, but even if it wasn't, that's another thing. It would still not justify that kind of public vitriol coming from someone who is employed by the state.
Yeah.
But it just does seem as if individuals like that have kind of mustered up more gumption lately.
Yeah, and we talked about how this kind of demagoguery is dangerous. When you're talking about send her back, it's dangerous. I said last week that was one of the most open forms of racism that I've ever seen on a stage like that, especially where a president of the United States, a current president, was in attendance. It was absolutely disgusting and, again, very dangerous. Again, days later, one of the squad is being threatened. Her life is being threatened. So, of course, President Trump has not learned his lesson. It's very interesting that coming off of that incident, he tried to distance himself from the words that were being chanted. Send her back. He was like, "Hey, it wasn't me.
I wasn't too happy about it. Wasn't. What did he say? Something? I don't think he said.
I wasn't that happy.
I wasn't that be happy with the words. I tried to stop it.
Yeah, he tried to stop it.
It was, but he said it was. But he said I tried to stop it. Then he said it was quite a chant. But I was like, when somebody says it's quite a chant, usually that doesn't mean they don't like it.
Yeah.
That usually means they were like, man.
But he did stop it quickly. I mean, it took like 14 seconds. He did stop it rather quickly.
You know what? I did consider this.
Yeah.
Trump is old as shit. He's old as shit. He's old, and he obviously is impaired quite some way intellectually and cognitively. You can see that when he tries to read a teleprompter.
Right.
And at times when he tries to explain himself, he doesn't stay on task in our sentence structure.
Right.
It's broken.
Right.
So his brain is working slower. So maybe 15 seconds to us and 15 seconds to an actual clock, maybe like 2 seconds to him. You see what I'm saying? Because his brain is working slow.
Nah, I'm not going to give it to him. Nah, I'm not going to give it to him.
See, it took me too long for it. It took me too long to explain. I was trying to make a case, but it took too long.
Yeah, I don't. Something is definitely wrong with him, but.
But you don't think that happened in that case? No, that was the case in that situation.
Yeah, no. If he actually wanted it to stop, I think he would have stopped it himself, but he didn't.
And not just remain silent.
Yeah.
And look around.
Yeah,
and
like
bask. It just felt like this was what he was doing. He was like
take it all in.
Exactly. It looked like he was like the words were like tangible.
Yeah.
And he was just like.
Yeah.
Like just rubbing the words all over himself.
All he had to do was say, "I endorse this message."
He was in ecstasy. It looked like he was in ecstasy because he just like he was being massaged.
But again, this is somebody that I guess in so many words denounced it as, something that he wasn't happy with, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so on Twitter, there was a post by Katie Hopkins. Now, if you're not familiar with Katie Hopkins, she's a bigot from the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And in many ways, there's lots of evidence to sustain that label that's attributed to her.
been called or referred to as a Holocaust denier. She likes to.
Well, she has shared the stage with a Holocaust
She
denier.
has shared the stage,
Yeah.
So
It was like an extreme
she's-
right-wing event that she was
she's
at.
basically an incendiary figure. She's a human incendiary device who always has something to say about immigrants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. She said at one time when, I think this was a few years ago in 2015, she was talking about migrants headed to Europe, and she labeled them as cockroaches. She also said that instead of, sending rescue boats to, save them, bring them to Europe, that, quote, I'd use gunships to stop migrants. She's called somebody that was black, a black man, I believe, that she disagreed with. She called him a jigaboo. Like I said, it's many different situations.
So
I believe for that comment that she made, she lost her radio show in the UK.
She has a checkered past. Is
oh,
what
of
you're
course
saying.
she has a checkered past.
Checkered present.
Yes.
Just check it all around.
Yeah, but she's an open bigot. Even if she won't tell you that she's a bigot, you just look at her words, you look at her actions. She's an open bigot, racist, right? So she said on Twitter, here we go. Hold on, where do I have it here? Yeah, okay, here we go. So she said on Twitter about this chant at this Trump rally in Greenville, North Carolina. She said, new campaign slogan for 2020. Don't love it? Leave it. Send her back as the new lock her up. Well done to Team Trump. Now, whatever. I don't care. Like I said, we already know she's a bigot. Doesn't matter. Of course, they're going to say bigot stuff.
It's right up her alley.
It's right up her alley. So there's no surprise here. But guess who retweeted it?
Let me see. How many guesses do I have?
I told you we on a clock, man. We only got one,
man. Was it Donald Trump?
Man, you always do that. You always find
Donald
a way
Trump.
to. You always find a way to get
What
the right answer on
is
the first
Donald
try.
Trump?
Yeah, it was Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump. He definitely did.
That's kind of confusing, though, because considering that he loosely disavowed the chant.
Yes, very loosely.
To the press.
Yeah, but he also included a comment as well in his retweet. He said, as you can see, I did nothing to lead people on, nor was I particularly happy with their chant. Just a very big and patriotic crowd. They love the USA. Now, it seems it has two different messages in that comment. But at the beginning, he's saying, hey, I told you, I did nothing to lead on this chant. It wasn't me, it was them. Why would you use Katie Hopkins, who is saying, great job? Why would you use her post to say, I denounce this? I don't want anything to do with this. It wasn't me.
When her post is actually in favor of the chant.
It's congratulatory. Well done, Team Trump.
Good job.
And then he goes on to say, oh, this was just a very big and patriotic crowd. They love the USA. What does that have to do with chanting to send an American back to a foreign country?
This is a good situation to illustrate what their overall view of immigration is really about. This Ilhan Omar situation. Because she came here legally.
She did.
Last
Legal immigration. Which is what they want.
Essentially, I'm not trying to, I guess, establish some sort of a value judgment. But she came over here voluntarily, right? She wasn't born over here. A lot of, Americans, North Americans, those who are citizens of the United States and those who are born here, they feel some kind of way, like some special kind of way, like they're more valuable. And they were just born here. They just happened to be born on this soil, right? When she came over here and made it her choice to come over here. She also made it a choice. She made it her choice to represent the United States with the job she chose. So it looks like Omar loves this country more so than anybody in that audience does. And more so than most of us, considering we just born here. You know what I'm saying? So we're just kind of, We just got lucky. We just got lucky.
Has nothing to do with us. We had nothing to do with us being.
It's not like I was there was a choice made in some other realm
Right.
before my essence entered this physical body, right? And I had a choice before I came to this earth, came to this dimension, and be like, what country's the best country?
Yeah. Japan?
Japan?
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? The United States. That seems like the country I want to live in
That'd be a
because
good look for me.
I love that country. It'd be a good look for me. Let me go there. There you go. I'm born here. No, I didn't make that choice.
Yeah.
And so whatever, appreciation or pride I have for my country, just because I was born here, pretty much, and that's it. Well, in Omar's case, she came over here voluntarily, attained her citizenship
And
the
then-
right way,
yes.
legally, and then decided to
Run for Congress.
and
represent the United States of America.
If that's
in
not the
official
most-
capacity.
If that's not the most patriotic thing a person can do, I don't know what is.
But send her back.
But send her back.
Send her back. She's not American. No. She's acting very anti-American. Send her ass back. Oh, man. I kind of pondered last week, too. Trump already has that bigot, that racist vote locked up. So that he's leaning into this even further, approaching 2020, approaching November 2020, approaching that election. I just don't see how much positive effect for him is he gonna, how much is he gonna gain from this? I just don't know. Just looking at it from that angle, is he going to have success based on this leaning into this further leaning into the racism?
And when we first started covering this issue, this story, him going on the attack, these 4 specific congresswomen, I highlighted that it was a campaign strategy.
Yeah.
It's not a distraction, it's a campaign strategy. And you know what
It's a good one for
it's
her,
not a
though.
good, it's a good one. And kind of what gives that kind of, what gives that idea more life is the fact that Stephen Miller was on Fox News trying to explain all of this. And Stephen Miller is one of Donald Trump's most cherished advisors.
Yes.
I had an idea that this was all him. Going after these 4 was all him. I can't verify that. I just still have that feeling within me, seeing as he was the one doing an interview. I think it was on Fox, but it was with Chris Wallace. And Chris Wallace was trying to challenge him, talking about how any justification for Trump's targeting and the words he used in his targeting don't even make sense, even if you don't call it racist.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And Stephen Miller, of course, threw that away and went straight to his talking points, talking about they don't like Western civilization, they hate America, and blah blah blah. So it just kind of gives more life to the idea that this is kind of Stephen Miller's baby.
Is it gonna work?
His strategical baby.
Is it gonna work? Like I said, we'll all find out. It's gonna be a long time until then. But I just wonder. He was new to the situation. He was kind of new to the situation in 2015, 2016. Even though he had ran before, didn't have success then either. But he was billed as this populist. He was billed as somebody that was really gonna change the game. And in policy, not so much. In attitude and what's coming out of his mouth, definitely. But in substance, not so much. But still, he was able to do that because he didn't have that political record. Hillary Clinton, the one he was running against, had a very long and established political record. And she had this ability to turn people off because of that record, because of things she had said, and Bill Clinton as well, her husband. It's just a lot. It's just a lot of substance there to criticize her for. In 2020, again, he's leaning into racism, and I wonder if he's going to have an opponent as polarized as Hillary Clinton as well. So I just don't see this being effective.
You know what he's trying to do? I think both him and his campaign, they know that there isn't a candidate that is as polarizing. Maybe Joe Biden may fit the bill for that. But I think they are highly aware that there isn't one as polarizing a candidate as polarizing as Hillary Clinton, and so they're trying to create ones. They're trying to create some polarization because that's the only way Donald Trump succeeds. So they're trying to create the same environment in 2020 or for the 2020 election that existed in 2016. And I don't think it's there. And since that environment is there, and since along with that, his record is going to be there too.
Yes.
I'm with you. I don't see how it's going to work.
But it would make sense too, like him going after these 4 congresswomen. It would make sense if one of them were running for president in 2020.
Oh,
but they're not.
But that's the only way they can go because Hillary's not there.
Yeah.
That's the option B. That's the consolation strategy right there. But it'll work with certain people.
I think it'll work with people he already has.
And that's pretty sad though, because this is one of those cases where essentially voters are, I don't know, masochistic, I think.
Yeah.
They're masochistic because they're willing to suffer just so Trump gets in. They're more worried about winning than anything else. They don't even care how much they suffer, how much jobs they lose, like what Trump does to them, what a Trump-like administration does to their, I guess, livelihood. They don't care. There's a little bit of sadism in there too, because Trump's targets are not them, so they don't care what happens to those people. But there's a little bit of masochism involved too, because they're going to suffer.
And to kind of highlight that point too, this isn't a subject we were going to go into great detail about, but there was an agreement reached with Trump and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer on the debt ceiling. So they agreed to on a spending agreement to raise the debt ceiling until I believe after the 2020 election, but it includes new money too. I mean, it includes new spending by the billions, I believe. Something that Trump did not want. I mean, if you saw Trump's proposal, his proposal, of course he wanted to cut spending in a lot of different areas, and that's something that conservatives always want. Republicans always want to cut spending on definitely these programs that benefit, just regular people, middle-class Americans, because we're spending recklessly. Now, it doesn't matter that we just passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that adds so much money to the debt. No. To make up for that, that was necessary. But to make up for that, we got to cut all these programs, right? So anyway, that was the feeling that Trump was going to, keep advocating for that and try to get it as much as he could. But that didn't happen. He did agree, reach an agreement with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Conservatives are mad. But this is what Donald Trump is doing now. He's promising now that after the election, they will focus on cutting spending. So this is the trick. And this is the trick that he keeps pulling on his supporters. So after you reelect me, I'm going to cut spending. After you reelect me, I am going to actually build a wall, because as of right now, no new wall has been constructed.
Existing portions have been reinforced.
Yes, but where there was no wall, there's not any wall. So he hasn't maintained that promise.
What's the third thing? What's the third thing he promised after he wins in 2020?
Healthcare. Republicans will become the party of healthcare.
Wait. You're going to have to back up. You're going to have to back up, man. You're going to have to put the brakes on, put it in reverse.
Yeah.
Make sure the beeping sound is activated. And you're going to have to let me know.
Yeah.
Just kind of like refresh my memory. What did he run on in 2016?
A big portion of his candidacy was about repealing the ACA.
That's one.
And replacing it.
Repeal and replace.
Yes.
Repeal and replace. You're going to have cheaper and better health care. He was going to get that done like the first couple months.
Yep.
Well, that and defeat ISIS.
Yep.
And what was the other things you mentioned?
The wall.
The wall.
Yes.
He was going to get that done.
He's going to get that done.
And the third thing?
The spending.
The spending.
He's going to cut spending.
Because that's what he said he was going to do. He's going to
Balance the
rein
budget.
in government spending, balancing the budget,
Yes.
drain the swamp type stuff, right?
And now each of these things are now promises for the re-election bid.
if you elect me in 2020, those are the promises I will fulfill. Even though I didn't do them in 4 years and couldn't get them done in 4 years. Yo, how does that look?
Yo, I don't even.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before.
And we've talked about some of the other smaller promises too. Like there was one, I believe it was Louisiana. There's a bridge that that needs to be updated. It needs a lot of money to fix. And he promised that community that went, very strong for him in 2016. He promised that community that it would be fixed. And now he promised the same community that it will be fixed after the re-election.
But you gotta re-elect me first. You gotta re-elect me first.
Yo,
That's what Trump is saying.
This is the most visible con game I've ever seen. What is that? That street. Hide the ball.
Hide the ball. The ball and
got
cup.
3 cups.
Or it could be like
this dude is moving them real slow. Oh. He's like, yo, I bet you won't find it. I gotcha.
Like I said, remember what I said earlier about his brain? Thinking it's moving faster when it really is? Like, to him, he thinks he's doing this. Find the ball. But in reality, he looks like what you just did.
Yo.
Slow as a mug.
It's so visible. And like you said, he's a masochist. There's got to be some element to that there. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the anti-BDS vote. Yeah, okay. So BDS, the Boycotts, Divests, and Sanctions, is a global movement meant to put economic pressure on Israel to change their treatment of Palestinians. On Tuesday, there will be a vote on a non-binding resolution to denounce BDS. Now, we've talked about this a number of times, and I'm not for this resolution. And I'm not for it because it denounces free speech, actually.
It's a First Amendment issue.
Yeah, it's a First Amendment issue to me. Because it doesn't matter how small or how large you're protesting, you still have the right to protest. And if you are a singular person, if you're just engaged in boycotting products and services from Israel, you have a right to do that. If you're a part of a larger movement that wants to do that same thing, then you have a right to do that as well.
And if we're talking about like defining like certain types of protests, right? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't, BDS be considered a passive protest? Because yes. I'm just like, I'm not doing something. It's not really an active protest. It's like, it's not really active, it's passive. It's like, hey, I refuse to purchase these products because me purchasing products, from this country, I feel that I am supporting them in their occupation. Yes. Right?
Very passive.
It's very passive. So if it's a free speech issue, it's very like, it's a very passive free speech.
But BDS is condemned, and by a lot of U.S. lawmakers. This vote that's going to take place in the House is expected to pass overwhelmingly. I believe it has over 300 or 350 co-sponsors in the House, so that's Democratic and Republican as well, of course. BDS is considered to be anti-Semitic, this and that, and there's, I'm sure that there are some people within the BDS movement that have certain feelings about Jews or Israel, the state of Israel, and they are hateful. But again, that doesn't mean not choosing to buy. Like, if I choose not to buy products from Israel, that doesn't mean that you are anti-Semitic. It means that you are exercising your constitutional rights, especially in the country of the U.S., the United States of America. But anyway, of course, there's going to be some people that don't agree with this resolution. And, of course, those are going to be your progressive members of the House. The Squad. Mm-hmm. Of course, they have feelings about BDS, and especially Representative Omar and Representative Tlaib. They don't plan on voting for this resolution. Tlaib, she's a Palestinian American. She called the resolution unconstitutional, which I agree, because again, it kind of tries to denounce your constitutional rights. She also said that it seeks to, quote, silence opposition of Israel's blatantly racist policies that demonize both Palestinians and Ethiopians, end quote. Look, you can have your different opinions about the state of Israel and the conflict there with Palestinians. There's many different opinions on this. The one thing that I don't see how anybody can deny is, one, the human rights abuses, and two, that there is an occupation in place. A lot of people run away from the word occupation when it is nothing but an occupation. You can support the occupation or you can denounce the occupation, but it is what it is. It's an occupation. And the things that are going on there, especially with the, expanding the settlements areas, this is going against international law. They are currently in violation of international law. And it's not just the UN that will say that, but the United States has consistently said that as well.
Okay, you said expanding settlements, which is interesting that you say that, considering what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. Like, what's happening right now?
Oh, you're talking about the bulldozing?
Yeah, bulldozing.
The bulldozing.
Over 100 families are probably affected by this destruction of homes. Now,
Palestinian homes.
The Israeli government has said it's for safety concerns. I mean, obviously, that's just justification, but the fact is these homes are being destroyed.
Yes, they are. The Israeli government says that they were not created with the approval of the Israeli government, which they weren't, because it's it's virtually impossible to get that approval in the West Bank. Well, this is East Jerusalem, I believe. Mm-hmm. That's going on, like we said. So look, again, there's a lot of different feelings about this, but to have the United States Congress introduce some bill, and I do understand that it's non-binding, but why the need for something like this? There's a representative, Ted Deutsch, who is a Democratic representative from Florida, and this is what he said about this resolution. He said the resolution doesn't restrict any First Amendment rights. It simply allows members of Congress to be on the record opposing a movement that attempts to delegitimize Israel's very right to exist. Now, I don't agree with that statement because, again, I did reveal that, yes, it is a non-binding resolution. It doesn't hold any weight. It's not going to mean anything. But if you're saying the reasoning behind this resolution is to affirm that Israel has a right to be a state, you're kind of saying that Israel has the right to do whatever the hell they want to, no matter what human rights abuses that they administer.
I think that's what you're getting at. I think that's what you're getting at here. I think that's what this resolution is for. But they couldn't make something like that binding, so they do it this way.
That's interesting that you would frame it like that. Israel has a right to exist. Nobody's pushing back on the right for Israel to exist, but they are pushing back on the treatment.
Again, we got to, remind people this is about boycotting.
Yep.
This is not even about, like, advocating for, like, some kind of an attack on Israel.
No.
This is just boycotting.
Yes.
And I mean, wouldn't this be considered a slippery slope? Mm-hmm. Like, why couldn't someone say the same thing about Nike when all these people boycotted Nike for the second time?
Right.
Because of a commercial? Doesn't Nike have the right to exist? Why are you discriminating against Nike? Like, what's next? Don't, let's say, something that would be a loose equivalent to BDS is people who boycott, like Laura Ingraham or Sean Hannity,
right,
or Tucker Carlson. They have a right to do that, mm-hmm, right? And so what's next? No, some sort of state passing resolutions to where you can't boycott a certain television show or a certain commentator? Like, no matter how vile they are?
It's ridiculous. Again, like you said at the beginning, this is a very passive type of action. I'm not going to be a party. I'm not going to be a party to any kind of goods and services coming from the state of Israel. That's what I'm doing. And I'm doing it for this reason, because I disagree with their approach to how they treat Palestinians. Something needs to change. Now, this is going to, again, this is meant to have some type of effect. This is meant to affect the pockets of Israel. It's meant to do that. Now, could we arrive at a situation where Israel does feel that impact? It's possible. I don't know if right now we're there. I don't think we're there. But could we get to a situation where Israel's like, man, because of this large BS movement, man, we're suffering economically?
That actually kind of shows how privileged Israel is right now, what kind of privileged position they are. And actually, like, this kind of anti-BDS resolution is overkill, considering how much aid we give Israel.
Yeah.
And you kind of suggested that, you know, any kind of BDS movement would just really, like, maybe scratch them. But they don't even want that.
They don't even want that.
They don't even want that. Because based on how much support we give them, it would just be like a drop in the bucket or a drop out of the bucket.
A drop out of the bucket, true. Yes.
But they can't stand it.
They can't stand it, man.
But I think it's important
it criticizes Israel.
For you to just kind of, like, because you talked about it earlier, regardless of what, you know, people think about a two-state solution, regardless of, you know, what people think about either side, Hamas, regardless of how they're viewed, it's important for us to classify it as what?
An occupation.
That's it. There's no way you could argue that.
No matter what side you're on, it is what it is. It's an occupation, and it has been an occupation for decades. It's an occupation. Like I said, if we get to a place where Israel is actually feeling the effects of this economic protest, if they're feeling the effects, would that maybe get them to a place where they're like, you know what? Maybe we got to change some things. I don't know, but I don't think that these types of actions should be denounced, and it shouldn't be, I guess the effort against it shouldn't be criticized as, you know, BDS being anti-Semitic, and it shouldn't be categorized as in support of saying that Israel does not have a right to exist. That's a disingenuous argument.
And I think that kind of connects to the point I was trying to make. Even if you think all that, it's still an occupation.
That's true. That's true.
Even if you think
it doesn't change it.
It doesn't change it.
But at this point, you know, we're on the live show right now. Of course, it's about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if that vote has actually taken place. I believe when we went on the air, it hadn't, so I didn't have any results. Like I said, it's not going to fail because it has over 350 co-sponsors and it has even more support, so it's not going to fail. It is non-binding, though. It is non-binding, though. It's just.
But it does send a huge message.
It does. It does. Be careful what you oppose. Even though you have the constitutional rights to oppose it, even though you have the ability as a free individual in U.S. society to say, I'm not going to spend my money here. Even though you have that right to do that, the action will still be denounced as hateful, I guess.
You know what I'm looking forward to, though? Out of all this? You know what I'm looking forward to the most? I'm looking forward to Ben Shapiro, specifically.
Standing up for
constitutional rights, free speech. Because, you know, he's like a free speech absolutist, right?
Yes, he is.
He's always standing up for free speech.
Constitutionalist.
I haven't checked his Twitter account because I don't really follow him, but I will check his Twitter account later. And I'm pretty sure he's been tweeting endlessly about this, about how much of a travesty it is that our United States government is essentially shutting down free speech.
Yeah, because he doesn't like that.
He doesn't like that. Free speech warrior he is. I know he has something to say about this.
I'm sure he did. We'll definitely show you like the
Steven Crowder.
Numerous tweets.
Pretty sure Steven Crowder has something to say about it.
The numerous. We'll have to put them up on the screen on the next show.
The next show, yeah.
Because they're strong on this.
Rock solid.
All right. We got one more for you. I don't know if this is the official dummy of the day. It could be. We could make it dummy of the day. Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is a conservative commentator, and he hosts a show on the Daily Wire for their platform on YouTube. Matt Walsh has said many questionable things over the course of time. On Friday, Walsh discussed the federal minimum wage and argued that it should be eliminated. Specifically, he said that it should be zero. He said that it should be zero because that's the baseline effort that you can put in. Zero.
Is it? Is really that? Is $0, or if there was a monetary representation of how much effort you can put in, is it really zero? No matter how bad someone is at their job, is it really zero? Like, how can you make that argument? With all the bad workers that I've been around and have witnessed just in my experience in the job market and just as being employed, yes, there's bad employees out there. But the worst employee, I would not say they earned $0 that day. The worst employees that I've experienced as a manager, I would not ever say they didn't earn anything.
Well, that's his takeaway. His takeaway is that the baseline effort is zero, so the baseline pay could possibly be zero. He also said that by having a minimum wage, no matter what it is, $7.25, $8, $15 an hour, whatever that minimum wage is, I guess it's making the case that it's impossible for any work to be valued at less than it. So all work has to be valued at least the minimum wage. So he continues, we have a clip that we definitely want to show you because he includes some anecdotal information, a reference point, some experience from him and why he has this take.
I went to McDonald's the other day. So I walk up, the cashier goes, "Can I help you?" Yes, I'll have the large number one, please. Thank you. That it? Yes. That's $6.57. Oh, actually, sorry. Can you change that to a medium? Okay. And that's how it went. Now, let me ask you, somebody like that, someone who that's all they do. That is the amount. They can't even be troubled to enunciate their words. Like, they can barely even put in the effort to speak. They're barely sentient. You're almost watching them melt in front of you into this just lump of matter. They're barely even there. Because of just how utterly disinterested they are, and not only disinterested, but ticked off that you're there. Now, on the other hand, you do have occasions, and usually this happens in a Chick-fil-A, as we all know, but not always. There are times when you go to a fast food place and the cashier is super nice and helpful and cheerful, and they've got a smile on their face, and they something's screwed up or you have to make a change, and they're just very accommodating and welcoming, and they make you feel good. They make you want to order just more food just to reward them. Now, someone like that, I think those are people who, they could be worth $30 an hour. They could be worth $50 an hour. If they're that good at their job and they make you as a customer want to come back, they're worth a lot of money to the company because they're making money for the company. When you have a minimum wage, what ends up happening is because the company, the restaurant, they've got these employees who are worth almost nothing. They have to pay them, though, $8, $10, $50 an hour, which means they've got to take that potential income away from the employees who could be worth more. You get rid of the minimum wage, and now, there are going to be people who lose out and deserve to lose out because they're just lumps of matter sitting there. But then those who are worth more, now you've freed up that capital, and they can be paid what they're worth.
I think you were giving him a bit too much credit by calling what he just mentioned, I guess his experience, as anecdotal. You were just giving him too much credit. Yes, it was anecdotal, but it was more irrelevant and nonsensical point to make if you're talking about minimum wage and why companies don't pay employees what they're worth. He's just trying to find every excuse for corporations not doing so, and he's using bad employees as some sort of justification, highlighting the fact that there are bad employees. See, they're bad employees, so the fact that bad employees exist, we can't pay, that's why they can't pay the good people, because those people exist. He said it'll free up capital. Would it really free up capital? Because you still have to hire somebody else. Like, he's suggesting that, hey, if those people are gone, you have more money to pay the employees that are worth it. But that doesn't make sense considering they still have to fill a position. That doesn't even make sense, because that's what he was suggesting. You get rid of those people and you can afford to pay those other people. I'm like, but you still have to fill those other positions.
Well, he didn't say get rid of them. He just said make their pay zero.
Oh, make their pay lower.
Yeah,
or
$2 an hour, I think he said at one point during this podcast.
Okay, so that makes more sense. Yeah. So he's saying like,
don't get rid of
employee,
just
like,
pay him.
who doesn't really want to be there, wants to put minimal effort. You just lower their pay to like $3 an hour, and then you raise the pay of the people who actually do their jobs to $15 an hour, and that's going to work out. Right. But doesn't that already happen though? When you come onto a job and you perform a certain way, you already get rewarded with raises and promotions. Bonuses, in some cases, that already happens. So people tend to be, not in all cases, but rewarded for the effort that they do. It's not that everyone starts out at the same place and stays in the same place regardless of how good or bad they are. That's what he's making it out to be.
He goes to restaurants. He goes to fast food restaurants, which is that's one issue. But nobody likes bad customer service. Nobody likes that, no matter where you are. And this customer service everywhere. You know, wherever you go, if you're going for a good or service, of course there's going to be somebody there that you have to deal with. So nobody wants somebody with a smug look, somebody that's frowning, somebody that looks disinterested. Nobody likes that, right? But I would argue that a lot of the times when you have those individuals, it's not just because they are just choosing to be that way. There's a lot of jobs that do not pay fair living wages. And maybe that has something to do with their attitude. I know I've had jobs like that too, where I was completely unhappy. And, you try not to let it affect your performance, but you're human. And so emotions show up wherever you are. No matter where you are, emotions are going to be there. Now, you might have, in certain situations, you might do a better job at masking them than others. But again, you're human. It's going to show up. The problem, I have many problems here, but it doesn't matter if there's a minimum wage or not. He's choosing to kind of highlight this issue, advocating for no minimum wage. But the scenario that he's saying that would lead to higher wages for people doesn't make sense. If employers, companies, corporations, if they actually wanted to pay people what they're worth, there's nothing stopping them right now. If somebody is worth $30 an hour, then they can pay that person $30 an hour. If somebody's earning the minimum wage, but they are not, they're not doing the job the way that employer wants them to do it, then they don't get the
$30 an hour that they deserve.
Exactly.
He's acting like all the companies, they just don't have the capital to pay everybody $20 an hour or $25 an hour like they're supposed to be. But they would have the capital if they lowered the wages of the people who don't deserve the pay.
If all these workers, if all these workers were interested in their job, and they showed it, they put in 100% effort every single day they came to work. Are you telling me that all these workers, especially in the fast food industry, because that's the industry that he targeted, you're telling me that all these workers would be making $20, $30, $40 an hour because they're interested in their job and they're showing it? They're giving good customer service? I've been to a lot of businesses where I know there's a minimum pay scale there.
And they have great service.
I have great interactions with the staff. Are they making $20, $30, $40 an hour? No.
Again, it's not, again, it's like you said, it's anecdotal. Not only is his kind of examples anecdotal and don't prove anything, again, if he's going to use his experience as some kind of template, right? Then he should have an example. Like, see, this company, you see how all of their employees are just stand-up employees?
Right.
All of these employees make you want to come back. All of their employees kind of make you want to buy more stuff. This is the reason why that company pays their employees $20 an hour. He doesn't have an example of that.
No, he doesn't, because he did not provide one.
He did not provide that. But if you think about it, right? Like, think about like what kind of like door that opens for exploitation. Like, again, this is his baby. This is his idea. We kind of have to play it out and not just like discount it for how nonsensical it is, which we are doing now. But we would need to play it out to see how it's going to work, how it's going to function. And what it would lead to is definite exploitation, because then who is going to determine and who is going to like be in control of like what type of temperament guarantees your wage? What type of temperament guarantees your job? If something like that would play itself out in the real world, what would happen? Yo, man, you weren't really smiling today. You weren't smiling a lot today. And this couldn't just apply to fast food workers or service workers. It would have to apply across the board.
Because the federal minimum wage.
Yeah,
is
it would have to
every
apply
line of
across
work.
the board.
Yeah.
So that just opens the door for exploitation, where an employer can use any excuse not to pay somebody. You can say, well, hey, you know, I just feel that your attitude wasn't where it should be today. You weren't as, personality wasn't shining as much. So, I got to kind of consider that when I, make a determination how much you get paid, Jamal. Sorry.
So until further notice, we're going to lower your wage till, $3 an hour until you get yourself in shape.
Until you get your
You got to
act
get
together.
yourself together, man.
And it kind of
And I'm going to be the one that determines if you did or not.
if you did or not. Again, like, who is going to make these determinations? There's going to have to be new, like, approach. There's going to be new metrics established to determine how people get paid. Like, if this actually plays out. And to me, how he views what these workers are worth, it seems to be only based on like how he interacts with them and how he feels about them, as if that is what gives them their value, and that's it. Oh, that person showed me attitude, or that person didn't seem like they wanted to be here, so they're worth $0. As if there's nothing else they do in that establishment that's worth anything. Like, I don't know, cleaning up under the damn ice cream machine, or under the stove, or washing dishes, or emptying the trash can, or cleaning the bathrooms. That's worth something, even if they didn't treat
Mopping
you
the
with
floor.
like just A1 customer service. That means they're worth $0. It just kind of shows his attitude towards people who do that work. Like, all the other stuff they do, not worth anything.
But my 2-minute interaction.
That's worth everything.
But see, this falls in line with the conservative agenda. Deregulation. Deregulation. They want to deregulate everything. That is what Trump has wanted to do while he's been in office, and he has gotten that done on many fronts. But now Matt Walsh, he's arguing for the deregulation of big business, I guess, in general. You don't even have to pay your workers anything. We're going to say that the federal minimum wage is $0. So you don't have to pay your workers a dime if you don't want to. And the government, we're going to stay out of it. We're going to leave it up to you to determine what your employee is worth. And there's no baseline level. Well, actually, there's a baseline level, but it's $0. So you don't have to fork over anything. Think about that. Like, do we really entrust corporations who we know to be greedy?
And exploitation.
Exactly. So since they exploit their situation, since they lobby the federal government to ensure that the current situation stays exactly where it is, or they're provided with a better situation for the top echelon of these people that are within these corporations. Since we know that to be the case, since we know the ridiculous amount of greed that they have, are we are we sure that they would do the right thing by their employees? If there's no baseline level, there's no safety net whatsoever. You can't fall below this line. You can't fall below this living wage line. But we're gonna task these employers for doing the right. Why do unions exist? Why do unions exist? Weren't workers being exploited? Didn't unions advocate for better working conditions, safety, time off, breaks? All of this, they advocated for this throughout the years, and they were very instrumental in making sure that these things were implemented for workers. So now you're saying that the unions won't really be relevant because the employer is going to take care of everything. They've reached such a level to where we can trust them now. They've proved themselves.
And again, like, why do people continuously use people who issue talking points about minimum wage and how we don't need it? Notice who they always use as an example. Fast food workers. They use those as examples because they're easy targets.
Yep.
They're easy targets. And if you think about fast food employees, there's millions of them. There's like a fast food restaurant every 10 feet. So they make up a lot of the minimum wage population, or just like the service industry in general. But they don't make up the entire service industry that works at minimum wage. But they're always people are always using them as an example because it's easier to point out bad service. Obviously, there are going to be instances of bad service because there are millions and millions of interactions that go on all day. So it's easy to find bad service. So they just want to use those examples because they think it kind of undermines the conversations because some people over here get bad service. A better example, what would have been a better example for him to use since he's talking about, people's attitudes generating wealth?
Tipped workers.
Tipped workers, like a waitress or like a driver or some sort.
Right. Because they actually have to work for what they get. If they are, if they can be flirty, they can be nice, they can be very, very accommodating, and the tip might show it.
And again, it's like, if we're talking about the working class, that just doesn't apply to, unskilled labor or individuals who work minimum wage. The way you view the working class should be across the board, the same across the board. So his perception about minimum wage, why would that just apply to certain minimum wage workers, or actually just certain, workers in general? Why wouldn't that same principle apply to all workers? Because for the most part, most work is service work.
Yeah.
Most work has a customer service element involved in it, even if it's not like the primary element.
Yeah.
Like most work involves customer service. I don't care what type of work you do. I don't care whether you're like an insurance agent. I don't care whether you're like you work at a help desk for Apple or Samsung or AT&T or Verizon. If you're a plumber, that's customer service. Even though you're being called to do a specific job, like that customer still judges you based on how you interact with them and how you do business.
Even if it's not like dealing with the public. Like if you're dealing with like business to business sales or anything like that, you still have a business that you have to serve. You still have a business. Yes, you have to operate, and you have to serve your customers. And most businesses, even though they're not service based per se, pride themselves onto that. Pride themselves at that. So you couldn't just apply this to like jobs like McDonald's or jobs like restaurant jobs or what they call the service industry jobs, like a bartender. Yeah. You would have to apply that across the board. You couldn't just say minimum wage workers have to adhere to this because like what if I call a plumbing company and one of their plumbers comes out and I say, hey man, I know he did the job and he did the job well and he got it done, but I ain't like the way he looked at me. You gonna knock off $100? You gonna knock off $100 because he didn't, put in the complete effort that I thought he should. Yeah, based on your experience, based on what you perceive. I should get $100 off. McDonald's is a very large corporation, multinational corporation, and they take in a lot of revenue. Aren't there other companies that are not in the food industry that take in less than McDonald's? Mm-hmm. So isn't it a fair point to be made that McDonald's could probably pay fair minimum wages, living wages?
Mm-hmm. To the employees that deserve it.
To the employees that deserve it. Just the conservative agenda, once again, is to hand big business the keys and let them run wild. They entrust them with the keys. They entrust them with making sure that consumers and workers are not cheated. Even though we know that they're going to do what they do. We know that greed is going to facilitate an atmosphere where people are going to get screwed. But conservatives are okay with that. But you know what? With Matt Walsh, it's no surprise that he would have a bad take like that. This is the same guy who several weeks ago, he talked about the Alabama abortion bill. You remember that bill that they passed in Alabama, which there was no exceptions for rape or incest?
Oh, yeah.
It was like
a
total ban of abortion. Yes. On Twitter, he tried to advocate for this in one of the worst possible ways. He was responding to somebody. You'll see the tweet here. But he was responding to Michael Knowles. He said, if a 12-year-old is raped by her father and the father takes her to get an abortion, the evidence of the crime will be destroyed and he will go on molesting his victim for years. If, however, the child is born, his crime will be discovered and she will be rescued from the abuse.
I remember that tweet.
Same guy.
You see, he was trying to come out and act as if he was like...
advocating for the victim.
Yeah, advocating for the victim. But if he was truly advocating for the victim, he would have immediately looked into the science behind his talking point, or whether his talking point was backed up by science. And the father of the baby, whoever impregnated the woman, or girl in this case, that can be determined weeks after.
Yep.
Doesn't have to. They don't have to wait till the baby is born. They can determine that weeks after.
You can determine it from the aborted remains.
Yeah.
Yes, you can determine it. There's DNA testing that you can do. Also, there's multiple different, I guess options here. If the girl was raped right then and there, she got to a hospital afterwards. Of course, there's DNA testing that can be conducted there. The way that he tries to advocate for the victim by saying that he wants to prevent more suffering. He wants to get this man off the streets. He wants them to be held accountable. And the only way to do that is to make this victim that has gone through a traumatic or probably several traumatic incidents live with more trauma and go through 9 months of labor with her rapist baby. That's the best way to arrive at justice here.
Because think about that scenario. Because if he was, he's essentially advocating that this rapist kind of go 9 months without anybody doing anything.
Yeah, that's not traumatic.
What in his mind, what's going to happen? Like, let's say the rape is reported, and she just got pregnant. Like a few weeks ago. Like, what does he think the cops are going to do? What is he like? Well, wait. We'll handle this once the baby is, born. Like, does that make sense? This is the kind of person we're dealing with here.
That's why whenever this subject comes up, and of course this is off on a tangent, it's still related to Matt Walsh though. But whenever something like this comes up, abortion, and conservatives say that they actually care about human life, and why they care about human life is why they have that pro-life position. But you don't care about the life that you are that you're destroying even further. The 12-year-old fictional girl that you're talking about, this reference point that you're making, this 12-year-old girl that had been abused by a father and was impregnated by the father. You care about life, but not her life. Because you care not about the agony and the trauma that's going to be furthered by going through 9 months of labor with her father's baby. You don't care about that. You just care about this life that's growing inside her that was put there by her rapist father. It's disgusting, man. But this is who we're dealing with. He consistently makes really bad arguments. All right. That's where we got. That's the end of our commentary, at least. So we're going to open this up for callers. We're very interested to see what you possibly have to say tonight. If you would like to call in, we definitely welcome that. The number to call in is 669-900-6833. If you've called in before, welcome you to do it again. If you have never called in, take this opportunity. Let your voice be heard. If you have a comment, question, anything to say, again, we welcome it. And we don't screen calls either. So if there's anybody in the chat that has, a difference of opinions, it's all cool. We can, debate the issues. We try to remain pretty civil unless you really, if you really try to jab us, in a really, whack way or something like that. And we can get down like that too.
Whoa, Sharon Formation. I did not hear about that. She said, did you hear about the idiot who caught his daughter smoking weed with a guy at a party and he shot and killed the guy? Dang. That's wild. That's wild. I gotta check that out. That's crazy. Wow.
It's a little too far.
Just a little.
It's a little too far.
That's an overreaction.
A little bit. A little bit. Where was that at?
Yeah, Sharon, where was that at? Yeah, I got to look that one up. I was on Twitter just looking at random stuff. I guess this is a story. So several customers said they discovered Atkins diet bars included in their plus-size online order. Forever 21's online customers are opening packages to find the plus-size clothing they ordered and an Atkins diet bar that they most certainly did not.
So they're sending Atkins diet bars with clothes?
That's what they're saying. But again, you never know with stories like this because it could be some other company staging all of this. I'm not saying they're innocent, but I'm always wary, like when I see videos on Facebook or Twitter or on YouTube where it shows I found a rat in my chicken or I found this, and it's like you done. It's like just shows something being that's already open. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying, so I don't know. I don't know. It could be true. I don't know. Maybe Forever 21 is just, trolling people and they don't care. But it could be another company staging this in order to kind of bring down the company in some kind of way. I don't know. We'll have to see.
All right, we got our first caller coming from the 860 area code. Let's welcome them to the stream. Caller, you're on the air live with LTMB.
Gentlemen, it's Gabriel.
What up, man?
Gabriel, good to hear from you.
Been a minute. But, hey, how you doing, guys? I actually had to change my name to No Middle Ground, and I think it works out better. That's okay.
Yeah, I saw you active in the chat, and I was wondering who that was. I thought it was somebody new.
No, that's me. For some reason, the last time I watched your show with my regular ID, they ganked my channel completely.
Is that right?
Don't know why. Still can't get it back. So I don't care. F them. Anyway, the reason why I was calling is I've got to find out if there's a way we can come up with counters to these morons who keep throwing spaghetti at the wall in terms of insults and disingenuous criticisms of Bernie Sanders. How do we shut that down?
You can't.
You can't shut it down, but I would say that social media is very effective. Since we were talking about some very disingenuous criticism and almost like disturbingly outlandish personal attacks. That person in particular, I'm not even going to say her name. After that tweet, she didn't lock her account, but it was like, I can't remember what she did. She didn't lock, it was like another measure, and you can tell she either like stopped.
She had to switch to private.
Yeah, she switched to private, or she just like I guess locked responses on that particular tweet, because that shit was getting ratioed like a mug. So really, they get backlash. There's no way you can stop it, like Will says, because they are paid. They're going to be welcomed on networks to say these incendiary things.
Right. And it wasn't like she was prompted for a take like that, too. I mean, she just offered that. If that was a plan, if that was something that they discussed beforehand, before, going on air, right, we don't know. But it's allowed to be on air, and it's not going to stop. There's nothing that we can do to stop it. We can push back on it as hard as we can, but this is corporate media. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of influence, and they
bottomless pockets.
And they know that Bernie Sanders is a definite challenger.
Right.
I mean, from the get-go, from the outset, he's a definite challenger for the nomination. What'd you say?
I said Bernie Sanders is a direct and clear and present danger to their gravy train.
Right. So they got to do whatever they can to diminish his impact, because they know that it's large, So it's not going to stop. It's only going to increase.
Well, here's another question. Are you guys familiar with the fairness doctrine?
The what?
The fairness doctrine. I mean, I've heard of it.
Yeah,
but what? Yeah. Like
basically, in a nutshell, what that was a law that was passed that said that what people said on TV had to be true. They couldn't lie to you on television. That was repealed in '93, I believe, during the FCC Telecommunications Act that destroyed radio. If you remember how shitty radio got after '93. And into '95, when Clear Channel bought up everything, that's the whole deal.
It's Clinton's fault that radio has kind of went in a very right-wing direction.
Well, not only that, but think back in the day when first you had like local artists get on the airwaves, they could do this, they could do that. Then all of a sudden you lost all access to the airwaves because they're bought up by corporations, because they relaxed the limit on how many stations a company or a corporation could own in one market or on markets next to each other. So that's why radio sucked in the late '90s. But anyway, I digress. Still, I'm still trying to figure out what's the best way to try and get these people to open their eyes. I mean, we're all in this together.
Unfortunately, like that old saying, the revolution will not be televised.
Yeah.
That's still remains true. I do think that, I used to have that fantasy that there would be this like kind of eye-opening experience that I guess media would have, and kind of would broadcast this kind of, I don't know, kind of this kind of liberation type movement. That's a fantasy.
Yeah, because there's money behind
There's money behind them.
There's advertising dollars.
I just don't think something like that is going to happen. It's always going to happen behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And even when it happens, you rest assured that there's going to be a media in place that's going to deny that it's happening in order to kind of, you see what I'm saying? So I just don't think any kind of revolution is going to happen like that on some sort of like mainstream scale, mainstream production, or be broadcasted in a mainstream way. I just don't think.
All corporate media is not bad, and when I say that, like all programming is not bad. All their stories, of course, are not bad. They will, certain times they will, do a good job on stories, but I think anybody can guess that it's because it doesn't really, I guess, reflect poorly on their bottom line. They have, I guess they have so much leeway, they have an opportunity to do certain stories. But when you're talking about a lot of the situations that are going on in the United States of America that need some highlighting, that needs an in-depth type of response to, they're not going to do that because it will impact the amount of money that, is going to be afforded to them. So they're just like anything else. I mean, the dollar rules the world. You know, it definitely rules this country. So they're not going to step out of line.
It's just so amazing that we've gotten the entire. I mean, governments have gotten all the people of the world to agree that this paper is actually worth anything.
That's true.
That kills me.
Yeah,
it really does. If we actually realize what we're dealing with and took it to heart, it'd be chaos. But no, we'll watch The Bachelorette and we'll watch American Gladiator, old football.
But see, now you're getting into something else, Gabriel. You're getting into something else that usually separates me from other people. And I'm not sure if you're aligned with me on this, but see, now you're getting into, I guess, the destructive world that we live in, that we talk about on this show. You're kind of suggesting that it's a feedback loop, that we start as human beings and it just comes back at us so strong we disconnect ourselves from it and act as if we as humans, some of us, have nothing to do with that. And there is enough people who genuinely like this system that we live in, even if it hurts them.
True.
We kind of hinted at that when we talk about Donald Trump and him having faithful supporters regardless of what he doesn't do for them. So they have authoritarian tendencies. So by default, they will elect authoritarian representatives. By default, they will choose those as their representatives because they have authoritarian tendencies. They practice a particular, I guess, ideology in their own lives.
Yeah.
They behave in a way that adheres to social hierarchies, whether it be patriarchy,
around them.
Yeah, patriarchy, whether it be men at the top of the social hierarchy, corporations, whether they be at the top of social hierarchy, whether it be their religion.
Yeah.
So they all take on these ideologies and these ideas and these behaviors that actually create the world we live in, whether they realize it or not. And so this is just one big feedback loop, and it's easy to just focus on the powerful up at the top and saying, as long as we get rid of those people, everything will be fine, we'll be good. But I'm like, nah, that's not the case. And I can use Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, no.
I can use Jeffrey Epstein as an example. I guarantee you, when we're talking about sexual abuse or any kind of abuse like that, I guarantee you, me, anybody who's watching the show, go look in your families. You can find way more sexual abuse than you ever find in the Catholic Church, in Hollywood, or Jeffrey Epstein or somebody like that. We just like to focus on those things because it's kind of like a celebrification of those issues. So those issues will not go away. So I'm just saying this is just one big feedback loop that we don't want to deal with as human beings. Not all human beings, it's just there's enough disgusting human beings that kind of lay the groundwork for superpowers to come like this.
But this mentality isn't new too, because it's always persisted. Humans really haven't changed throughout the years, throughout the centuries. Humans really haven't changed. They've had authoritarian tendencies centuries ago. They still have the same things right now. You're talking about like the hierarchies that people place, like what do they place of importance? During slavery times, there were a lot of white people that did not own slaves, but there were also a lot of those same white people that didn't advocate for changing things. They didn't feel the need to like protest or like really be engaged and like seeing the human value in people that just happened to be a darker skin complexion because they weren't the lowest rung on the ladder. So this has always happened throughout the course of time where, you see a situation that, it may not be benefiting you per se. It may not be benefiting you so much, but definitely you're not at the lowest rung. You're not at the bottom. You're not getting the worst of it. So, hey, It's not so bad, right?
As long as Trump is attacking those other people, we good.
Right.
Yeah, it's the other. That's what kills me. That's another thing that kills me is the other. That whole division line that keeps being put up, and it really needs to stop. We've got to find a way to erase it. But as you said before, ain't gonna happen.
Nah.
No matter how hard we try, no matter how hard we fight, it's just never gonna happen.
We got to change leadership, man. We got to change representation. That's not all we have to do, but we definitely have to get these demagogues away from big microphones. You know, we
Well,
have to
here's
put
another
these-
question for you. What do you think of Wolfpack? The
You mean
movement
the
for a
TYT?
constitutional convention and the 28th Amendment to take money out of politics.
Yeah, I'm supportive of it.
I think that's a good start.
Yeah,
I think that's a good start.
it's years away. I mean, it's a lofty goal. I'm not in opposition to it because Jink did this years ago. Jink Uger, he started Wolfpack.
Still doing it.
Yeah, he's still doing it. Yeah, of course. So I mean, we've been talking about money in politics since we started LTMB. So anything that serves to do something about it, I'm definitely for. It's just, I mean, to be real, and Jink is real about this. I mean, it will. I mean, it'll probably take a long time, but that's not a reason.
So is
not
Kyle
to do it.
Kalinske.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kyle. Yeah,
it's not a reason not to do it. So yeah, I'm supportive of it.
Groovy. All right. Well, hey guys, thanks for taking my call. Great to talk to you guys. Good to see everybody in the chat, and hopefully I'll talk to you later.
All
All
right,
right,
man.
man. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, man.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, we're gonna go to 218 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey guys, this is Christopher, Artificial Morphos Man. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How about you?
I like that last call. That's exactly where my mind is at right now. So I come from a family that's left-leaning and basically kind of like neoliberal, centrist Democrat. And to me, I've been following Bernie ever since he announced in 2015. And this primary is so important to me that if I can change some of my family's votes, then I feel like I've done a world of work. And so, this mainstream media is so powerful. They're, run by the same donor class that these politicians are beholden to. And so Gabriel brought up a good point. It's like, how do we combat that and the smears towards Bernie? And it's like, I'll talk to my mom about Bernie and his platform and the facts and everything, his record and everything. And she's like, well, how are you going to pay for it? And she's supposedly left-leaning Democrat, and so it's these, and then like the rest of my family, pretty wealthy, successful people, whenever I share like a alternative media video or something, they'll immediately just say, oh, it's just some guy in their basement, they're not credible, and then they'll send me like an article from like The Nation or The Guardian, where it's obviously they have their agenda that's against any progressive. You can just see it, and they don't come up with the real facts. They omit information, and it's just this whole mainstream media agenda to keep progressives out of the White House, because then it'll stop the gravy train, and that's how they get paid. And it's even NPR and PBS. They say that they're balanced, they say that they're fair, but they'll prop up Elizabeth Warren and then smear Bernie with very delicate, orchestrated propaganda, and so I like Gabriel's call. You guys broke it down really good, and we're still on that topic, I guess. So what I'm thinking is like, Jordan Sheridan, Jimmy Dore, Kyle Kalinske, you guys, TYT is pretty polished, but it's like, I've seen other people mention it too, like since last week and stuff, like short 3-minute videos with the facts, with, and just putting it out there. And then, then maybe some of these neoliberals, these elitists, will start to listen to the facts and not be distracted by the lower quality, shall I say. I mean, you guys have an awesome set. You guys have an awesome show. But you guys are kind of preaching to the choir here. So if we're going to try and convert votes over, you see what I'm saying? So what do you guys think of that? I just wanted to bring that to light.
Well, I think this is not the best time to do that. Well, it's not the best time to think that you're going to have the ear, or you can convince any neoliberal or anything like that, because we're talking about the presidential election. They are where they are. In 2015, 2016, we talked to many Clinton supporters. We had our facts, of course. We had reasoning. We had very valid reasoning for supporting Bernie Sanders. I mean, they were the two main Democratic contestants, the challengers. So it was really just about them two. You can compare Bernie Sanders with Hillary Clinton. It was the easiest thing to do, and come out saying Bernie Sanders looks better here. Look at his record. Look at his current position. Look at Hillary's. That's awful. It didn't make any difference. So I think maybe in off years, maybe you have more of a chance of actually convincing somebody. But as we have it right now, again, we're in the lead up to the Democratic nomination. Anybody that's on Team Biden, I can't see that there's any argument that you can make where they would come up off of Team Biden and join somebody like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or anybody. We're just not there right now. We try to do our part to educate people. We put it out on YouTube. We do what we can. I assume that we've convinced some people because we do bring facts. We bring logic. We bring reasoning. It's not just something we're just spouting off at the mouth with, just opinion based and stuff like that. We lead with facts. So
I think he was more talking like when I heard him mention a time span of a video, I think he was more or less talking about more direct hits. Yeah. More direct hits, like this, and this. Put it up there. This, and this, and put it up there, and keep going like that. Because in some cases, a lot of cases, that's really all people have the time span for. They don't have a time span for conversation. So that's probably why Christopher has talked about 3 or 4 minute videos to just keep hitting on certain facts. Now, when it comes to facts, am I kind of capturing what you were talking about?
Yeah, okay. And I wasn't trying to diss your guys' show at all.
Hey, I don't care. No. That's the way, because we talk. You know how many requests we get? Yeah. Like, hey, upload short videos. That's I don't take that as a diss. That's just kind of like, that's strategic advice. We know what people have time. We know people have time for it now.
On YouTube, I mean, we've seen the statistics. We get the statistics, how many people, or the average watch times and this and that. Sometimes it's harder to do than others. Sometimes, we can, condense it to a really short message. Not saying that. Go ahead.
One thing that I think is really powerful is just to show clips of how these, corrupt politicians, how they're hypocritical. Like they'll say one thing one year, and like Lindsey Graham and people in the Republican Party, like Rand Paul and stuff, those are easy targets. But you kind of have to do some digging. Well, you don't have to do much digging with Biden. He's another easy target. But with like Liz Warren, she's back and forth on Medicare for all, and she voted for more military spending and stuff. You gotta. So I think that has a huge impact. I'm just looking for ways to like show my family. It's like, hey, don't glaze over when I tell you these facts. Look at what they said. You know what I'm saying? And also, just a shout out, there's a progressive periodical newspaper. It's bi-weekly, I think, coming out of Iowa. It's called the Progressive Populist. And they have some really excellent articles by Jim Hightower and Ralph Nader. And they really dissect what's happening across the board. So I just want to recommend that as a news source. But then I also did read an article with some younger girl reporting on the candidates and called Tulsi a grifter. And I was like, but anyway, I'll cut the call short, and I love what you guys are doing. That's why I come here every Tuesday and Thursday.
Well, we appreciate you calling in, Christopher.
All right. Good night.
All right. Good night, man. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that Christopher has no merit in what he's talking about. We know, again, we know the value of shorter videos.
Oh, true that.
And we've done that,
that's completely, true.
Yeah.
That's.
I guess the only thing I was trying to say is, given this current time frame that we're in,
people have already picked.
Exactly.
People
They're already
kind of
in their
picked
camps.
And like, here's one thing that like I had to realize and had to come to grips with when it comes to like strategically planning who I engage with, and when we're talking about those facts. Because if it was just about facts, we wouldn't have so many people supporting representatives that don't represent them.
We have excuses.
Even though the facts are there that they don't represent the people.
People make excuses.
People
all
make
the
excuses
time.
for them. So we have to just, like, I guess, admit and come to grips with the fact that there are people who don't care about facts. And those who actually care about facts will be drawn to them.
Yeah, true. Some people can be swayed.
Some people can
Some
be swayed.
people can.
And to
Maybe
pay,
they're ignorant of the facts. And when they get them,
and pay attention to those people.
Yeah.
And stop wasting your time on people who don't care about facts.
Right.
Because if it was about facts, then Trump would lose his base.
Trump would have never been elected.
He would never be. Yeah. So that's even better. People wouldn't ever believed anything he had to say.
True. And when it came down to, again, that was a very, that was a troublesome election when you're talking about two unfavorable candidates like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. But still, given who Donald Trump showed himself to be, there's no way he would have gotten anywhere near the support that he did get if people actually believed in facts.
If people actually believed in facts and Hillary Clinton's record and who she has shown herself to represent in her politics, she would have had so much support. So people really don't care about facts at the end of the day. People are just drawn to them because they actually have an inclination to want to know what the facts are.
All right, 617, you got the mic. You're on live with LTMB.
Hey, Mike and Will, it's Ben from Massachusetts.
What's going on, Ben? Good to hear from you.
Hey, guys. Hey, just one thing. I agree we aren't going to convince anyone who's got their mind made up. But one thing I just want to keep on hammering, because it's kind of, I think my mindset on this has changed since the 2016 election, is the importance of winning over the spectators. So if you're out having like a beer on the porch with your uncle who's a hardcore right-wing Republican, you're not going to change his mind. But if you are having an argument, like a friendly argument, let's say, at the dinner table, and there's, you've got like your cousins and your nephews and maybe some other aunts and uncles who don't know. I mean, I think we all need to have our talking points ready. We need to know like how to debunk different arguments that come up. And then when these clown right-wingers come at us, we just use them as a punching bag and kind of, maybe give them the old rope-a-dope for like 30 seconds, let them kind of say their piece and just demolish them. And people are never going to change their mind, but you're going to make sure that there's some people who get to witness it and kind of get enlightened on what's going on.
Yeah, you said that before, I think. It's not really making the argument to change the mind of this particular individual that will not change their mind, but somebody that may come to the information, somebody that might overhear and, be like, oh, you know what? Okay, yeah, that does make a good sense. Okay.
I co-sign that approach, Ben, because, we already know, like, what the talking points are. We already know, like, the disagreements people have with things. So we should already have in our back pocket, like, talking points, a constructed narrative, being able to connect that to an issue already. Because, we already know how people respond to things and the typical talking points people use. So I don't think it's difficult. That's too difficult of a task to adhere to. And now, as far as like how we deal with individuals who will not be moved at all, I'll side with you on that too. Even though they will not be moved, at least throw some things out there so they know that there is some sort of like counter to their argument. So they know that they don't have it all. At least like I put that out there so they have more of a. It takes more effort for them to stay in their position. So yeah, those people will never be changed, but at least them knowing that there's people out there that have good arguments against, their ideas and their beliefs, I think that's good too. So yeah.
Yeah. It's like those inflatable clown punching bags. You remember those from like the 1980s? You blow up the clown and you just pop it in the face over and over. But and then I want to tell a short story. I go to McDonald's once in a while, and I get the bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. And every time I go there, I think to myself, these people are busting their ass. They're working themselves like basically crazy. Like they're working nonstop. And I think to myself, you know, I'm so grateful that my job is not as hard as what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And for them to be able to like go in there and they always have a smile when I go in. They're always polite. I always ask them like if they can make the bacon extra crispy, and they're like, no problem at all. You know, they take care of me. And like, so I know that's just an anecdote, but I wanted to share that story because when I go into McDonald's, I can't believe how hard these people are working. They're some of the hardest working people that you'll see. And I mean, you got like landscapers who go out there and sweat and kind of break their back, and that's one thing. But these people who work at McDonald's, it's no joke. Like, I don't think I could really last there for like an hour. Never mind like 8 hours, 40 hours a week. You know, it's crazy.
And that's something to, you know, that's something because Matt Walsh talked about his experience with a worker that didn't show him that type of, I guess, customer service that he was wanting to see. Smiles, appreciation, whatever, like some type of care for their job. But we know that there are difficult types of human beings everywhere. And you know that these fast food workers get to experience that on the regular each and every day. And yet they still have to smile, right? They still have to do their jobs. They still have to conduct themselves in a professional way. They do that, but they're not supposed to be afforded a living wage, though. Their job or their value is so undervalued that it should be at $0 an hour unless what? Unless the corporation says it shouldn't be? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. No, maybe it's like, maybe he's envisioning like a situation where customers are pressing a button when they walk in as approval. And the more times that button is pressed,
the higher the salary
the
wage goes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the minimum wage, just like kind of quickly going through this, and then I'll let you guys go.
Yelp reviews.
The minimum wage is established by market control. So basically, like a perfect example is a Walmart. So Walmart is going to go in, and they're going to have good benefits at first, and they're going to have decent prices, and they're going to offer everybody, you know, a job, and they're going to have their prices really low because they have that buying power. And then what happens is all the mom and pops in the area all close. So the mom and pop sports shop is gone, the tire shop is gone, the shoe shop is gone, everything closes. So now all you have is Walmart. Then what Walmart does is they reduce the wages to the point that people, like new hires, aren't making anything. So like if you go into a new town, yeah, you kind of have like decent wages and stuff. And then once you get in there and you have a stranglehold, then you reduce the wages. And then people don't have anywhere else to go because at this point, most towns, they have like a Walmart and the mom and pops are gone. So then what the, you know, free market of ideas or like these, you know, libertarians or free market right-wingers will say is, well, you know, the market is going to dictate, but they don't understand the supply and demand. It also has like the supply side of it. And if we're supplying the labor, we have control too and power. And what we can do is we can revolt. So the way we revolt is by shutting it down. So we have strikes for $15 an hour. We have Bernie Sanders go down and just throw down and basically make these protests happen. So don't complain when it's coming to fruition. It's a two-sided street. So that's kind of where we're at right now is in the revolt stage. It's all part of the free market, and we are going to fight and get, you know, more than 15 in my opinion, but looks like 15 for now.
Yeah, look, you know, like with what we were talking about before with you and with Christopher as well, about how to progress things, how to push back on the disingenuous arguments about progressives, namely Bernie Sanders. We're making some headway, okay? I mean, we're getting to where we want to be. I mean, who knows how much longer it's going to take, but I think if anybody takes an honest look at it, we're progressing forward. It may not be to the speed that, you know, we want to see, that a lot of people want to see, but we are progressing forward. I think one day we are going to get there. So, you know, I won't say that, you know, we have to bide our time or anything like that, but we are making some headway. These types of arguments that we're seeing by Matt Walsh and trying to suppress us down even further, just trying to hand everything over to big business, it's crazy, man. But like I said, what we saw in the midterms, some of the candidates that were elected, what we see by Bernie Sanders' campaign, not just last time around, but right now, and how he's still strong, and how there are more progressive policies being put forward by not just Bernie Sanders, but others as well.
People winning midterms
exactly
on those progressive policies.
People see the value in these types of things. So, like I said, I don't know how much longer it's going to be, but I'm at least encouraged that I think at some point we're going to get there. I just hope it's rather sooner than later.
And I just hope people realize that supply and demand is a two-way street, and we do have power. Yeah. We are the supply. We are the supply. So we're saying, no, enough's enough. We're going to put our foot down and we're going to win.
Yeah, a lot of people don't kind of mention that fact when they talk about the market. And they kind of forget that labor is a market too. You know what I'm saying? So supply and demand is just not in reference to products. It's people too. And so it's like the issue is that we live in a situation where we have a group of elites that are determining how much this labor body is worth. And that's the problem. And we almost have to, we have to kind of accept that in this current state.
We have to accept crumbs. But
yeah, and that's where we'll fight back. So I guess I'll catch up with you guys on maybe on Thursday, but I'll definitely be watching and appreciate what you guys are doing. So
thank you.
Solidarity, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in, Ben.
All right, you got it. Thanks for taking the call. All right, bye.
All right, so we don't have any other callers in the queue. Those were some very good calls tonight. Thank you to Gabriel, Ben, and Christopher for calling in. All of them that have, they've called in at least once or twice before, so always good to hear their voices. Relevant things to discuss. I guess, like that biggest point that virtually all of them made was, how to progress forward, how to stop these attacks, these disingenuous attacks, and there's nothing that we can do. We only have so much power, especially, if we're talking about just me and Mike, we only have so much power. When you're talking about everybody involved and seeing things progress forward, we do have a lot more power. So we might not have the power of CNN, MSNBC, because of course they have the airwaves. A lot of people watch them. Way more people watch them than do, independent media. But we do have the power of the internet. We have the power to push back on these ridiculous arguments that they make. Again, talking about like Mimi, what's her name? Rocha? Yeah. Rocha, yeah. Ridiculous. The whole thing about Bernie and, hey, he's getting a lesson on economics and socialism is not the way, and he had to force his workers into reduced hours.
Do you know what?
This is what they have, though. They have to do. They don't have anything else.
I don't think I brought this up, but it's an even dumber argument because this is a campaign. This is actually not a business. It's not like Bernie Sanders is the capitalist in this situation because there's no capital involved. Yep. They're not like working and Bernie Sanders is making actual money from the campaign. So to even unionize in a situation like this, when it's actually not a business, yes, there's a business aspects to it. Like, they sell t-shirts, hats, buttons, banners, mugs, whatever. But that's not the central, that's not how it functions really. So it's like for, Bernie Sanders to actually set up a unionized structure is awesome.
It is.
When it's not really doesn't abide by the same kind of market rules as an actual corporation, an actual business, which this is not. That's why the comparison is dumb to try to say, see, socialism doesn't work. I'm like, it's
Is Bernie Sanders going out of his way to
actually
protect the rights of workers?
It actually does work because where's the money coming from?
People.
People.
People are funding this campaign, not corporations either. People are funding this campaign. And you know, there was another, and we kind of highlighted it, but didn't really talk about it. And I can't remember who said it. I think it was Charlie Kirk, though. I'm not sure if it was Charlie Kirk or the Daily Wire. I can't remember, but they were talking about how Bernie Sanders didn't like it. Didn't like, the staffers. If it was one staffer or a few running to the media and talking about it, and how Bernie Sanders didn't like it. And he made that, he spoke about that. And he did. He did speak about this issue about how the staffer or staffers leaked the information to the media and how he wasn't, it wasn't something that he was happy about. Because again, this was something that was not under wraps, but it was something that was in-house. These were in-house negotiations. There was nothing to run to the media about. The only reason to run to the media is if the Sanders campaign, the management team were trying to stonewall, not trying to do the right thing. But they were trying to do the right thing. And that's evidenced by them actually coming to an agreement days later. But anyway, Sanders did have some words about how, I wouldn't have liked that. I didn't like that. That shouldn't have been done, this and that. Now, why would Sanders be criticized for that kind of take when the majority of the staffers had the same kind of take as well? Oh yeah, that was counterproductive. You shouldn't have ran to I don't know who they were, but you shouldn't have ran to the media. You're trying to undermine all the work that we're doing, trying to make a better situation for ourselves. That's what the staffers said. That's what the staffers that were engaged in the negotiations with the Sanders team, that's what they said about the leak to the media. But Sanders should be criticized for having the same take. It's ridiculous, man.
And one thing that we have to consider, these campaigns are huge, and anybody can volunteer or apply. And one thing that I've always suspected, not just with Bernie's campaign, but with any campaign, there can be moles put in place to do things like this. You know what I'm saying? To run and tell certain things. Oh, look, there's some unrest in Bernie Sanders' campaign. I'm going to leak it out. Like, that would definitely have to be a mole, considering what we know about the situation, considering what the individuals who are involved in it have had to say about it. So I don't know. I mean, it could be one of those situations. Because I remember when that IT guy in 2016 that was on Bernie Sanders' campaign accidentally breached Hillary's whatever that was. It was Hillary's campaign database, and then that got Bernie suspended from accessing.
Oh, yeah, I remember
the NGP something.
The rolls, the voter rolls. Yeah.
Yeah. So that person who worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign accidentally did that. Now, when you looked into that person that was brought onto Bernie Sanders' campaign, that person was a suggested hire via the DNC. I'm just saying. That was just kind of weird. So we have to kind of expect things like this, to I guess occur in big campaigns. We have to expect in certain situations there are maybe people there who are going to undermine the campaign, who are there to undermine the campaign, are there as moles or insiders.
All right. We got some questions about, let's see, Puerto Rico. What do you think about Puerto Rico protesting their governor? I've seen that, he stated that he wasn't going to, I think, run for re-election, but he wasn't resigning. I saw that. A lot of uprising about that, a lot of protests. You have anything to say about it?
I don't really have know enough about it. I mean, I've been paying attention to it, but I don't know.
Yeah, of course, I've seen the protests. I can't say I know the exact gripes that they have with that particular governor. I can't say that I know that.
Well, we'll say I'm not.
I see something about see some cell phones connected to some online chat.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was I did read about that. About there was some leaked information about about certain conversations that we're having that revealed some corruption and whatnot.
I see something about sexist and homophobic chat messages. Yeah. That was just 3 hours ago from the New York Times. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read more about that. All right, what else? Let's see. I saw people talking about icing on cake.
It started because somebody said something about
it was cake.
We were icing on the cake.
Yeah,
come in for the chat, we're icing on the cake. And then I think that kind of started a cupcake
it did.
conversation or like what sweets. I don't really do a lot of sweets, but like if I
don't like a lot of icing. No, when I was a kid, I loved icing.
See, I didn't.
I loved icing.
I still like. I liked icing, but it had to be the right kind, and it needed to be balanced. I had to have like enough, like whether it be cake or like a cupcake, which is the same thing. It just cupcakes just somehow you perceive them differently.
Yeah.
But it has to have like the right ratio.
I can deal with like a thin layer of icing now. Like I can deal with that. But on most cakes and on cupcakes and stuff like that, I can't deal with a lot of icing anymore. I just can't. It's disgusting. Kids love it. I don't. I like cheesecake though. Cheesecake I can do it all day. That's not you. Yeah.
I mean, cheesecake alright. I mean, it's not like my favorite.
Yeah. But you remember when we went to Cheesecake Factory in Miami? Now, Cheesecake Factory has some cheesecake.
If they didn't, then that would be.
Exactly. To name yourself the Cheesecake Factory, you better be on point.
Burger King not having burgers.
Better be on point. Favorite
What
dessert?
is y'all's favorite dessert? Man, that's.
Yeah, there's so many different options.
There's so many different options. I guess I can't. Now I can't really name one because I don't really do sweets or desserts. But I would say it's a tie between pecan pie and because my mom used to buy pecan pie, but we used to put like butter pecan ice cream on top of it. So pecan pie with either vanilla or butter pecan works. Or they would always get me like a red velvet cake or carrot cake for my birthday, but probably those two.
Yeah, I like red velvet. I love peach cobbler. Love peach cobbler. I remember when my wife was pregnant first time in the hospital. Boy, they had some banging peach cobbler.
In the hospital
cafeteria? In the hospital, man. I was killing it. I was killing the peach cobbler, man. I was like, damn, man. The hospital is throwing down, man. Straight up. Yeah, I love peach cobbler, man.
Had Sylvia in the kitchen. Yeah, I really don't. I'm not a sweet person now, but so it's kind of hard for me to determine what my favorite dessert is because of my adult life. I don't really.
Why don't Bernie and Warren team up yesterday? Who would be the front person? Who would be the candidate? Warren didn't want to seem to want any of it in 2016, even though, she was a more recognized figure in 2016. Everybody wanted her to run. Probably every progressive wanted to see her run for president in 2016. And that was probably the best opportunity that she had because there was really only one challenger, of course, that was Hillary Clinton. You remember Bernie Sanders, that whole argument about him being not feminist, about, of course, he, the whole, what was it at the debate that happened? Excuse me? You remember that? He's misogynist,
And it was Hillary Clinton who interrupted him.
Exactly.
So because he wanted to not be interrupted, he was a sexist.
And that was a pretty big attack that was on him. A lot of people employed that attack. If it was Elizabeth Warren, of course, they couldn't have used that. And she was, like I said, she was the progressive, the more notable progressive. So I think she missed the boat. I'm not saying that she can't, get the Democratic nomination this time around, but I think her best opportunity was in 2016. But she has those aspirations now, and I don't think she's going to bow out. I mean, there's going to be a certain number of them that are going to at least go to the first caucus and primary.
Yeah.
There's going to be probably at least, there's like 23 or something like that right now. I'd say there's going to be at least 10. There's got to be at least 10 that are going to show up for that first caucus and primary. New Hampshire, Iowa. There's going to be at least 10 that show up for that. After Iowa and New Hampshire, maybe even after just Iowa, maybe, a couple of them drop out. Maybe 3 or 4. I don't know. But that first one, man, there's going to be at least 10.
Somebody asked us, what's our favorite meal? That's probably Sharon Formation.
Favorite
meal. Like, I have a lot of favorite foods, but I can't.
Like
that's one of those, like, if you were, being put to death, what would be your last meal? Kind of deals. I mean, I have a bunch of favorite foods, but man, or a bunch of foods I like, but as far as like favorite, I don't know.
I can't select.
Artificial Amorphous Man says he liked almond milk and chocolate. What about both of those two things together? Chocolate almond milk. That's good. Because I don't do dairy. I don't do dairy. So I do almond milk, which is probably my favorite.
I used to really love ribs. Like a rack of ribs, man. I used to really love it.
Yeah, I would say back when I ate, meat like that, I would say, like, if I were to pick a meat, it would probably be like ribs. I guess back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I don't know. I mean, probably ribs, probably.
I can't say right now, though.
Or I would say, like, maybe when I was like a teenager, I would say like pizza or something.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I was all about pizza night. Or like Chinese food, like, that was like house fried rice, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's harder because, I don't know.
I used to love a Angus burger from Hardee's.
Back when they kind of changed up.
When they changed it up.
Yep. Well, yeah.
Used to love that. Hey, I can't. Like, there's
a place called. I don't think we have any in South Carolina. We could, but I just don't know about them. But it's called Vortex. It's a restaurant called Vortex.
Mm-hmm.
They're in Atlanta. They might be in other places too, but that's the first time I ever went to one was in Atlanta. It's called Vortex, and they have like this bomb-ass veggie burger, and they serve them with these crinkle cut, like, sweet potato fries. And not like the crinkle, not like the traditional crinkle. It's like the accordion, how an accordion looks. It's not like the corny crinkle, like the crinkle that like most people have. It's like most brands have. It's like an accordion looking thing. And so that does like something else when they cook it, so the texture changes or how it feels when it goes in your mouth. That's good. But
Evil Yoda, what's y'all take on the lack of policy for my Native American cousins? The left keeps saying stand with natives and consult them, but that's not enough and vague as fuck. We need some federal land back. This is the thing that always happens during presidential, actually any election. They try to appeal to different types of people, especially your most marginalized groups of people. And Native Americans are definitely reached out to when it comes to campaigning and trying to solicit their votes. But they're always forgotten, though. A lot of people are forgotten, but, definitely Native Americans are forgotten as well. They just expect them, especially the Democratic Party, they expect them to, receive that vote, pay lip service, and expect that will pacify them. Same thing happens every election cycle, man. It's not enough. Again, that's why I say, a lot of things encourage me about the prospects of this nation, of this world, really. But it's like, okay, we got to keep the ball rolling, and we got to increase the speed of this ball too, because people are hurting everywhere. Lots of groups of people are hurting. course, Native Americans are hurting, and in ways other people are hurting too. So they need to be addressed. Think about who has the control, though, especially in the Democratic Party. It's not progressives. It's not people that would actually advocate for them in a meaningful way. It's people that don't.
They were nowhere to be found during the Dakota Access Pipeline issue.
Where's Elizabeth Warren?
She came out
Where was she at?
I think her and Barack said something way after, but it doesn't really mean anything and it's empty, especially for Barack Obama, considering that like oil production kept going up when he was president. He opened it up. He opened the United States up. He loosened regulations for more oil mining in the Gulf of Mexico and everywhere else. Not everywhere else, but specifically in the Gulf of Mexico and other places.
We got to change leadership. I mean, you can take any issue. I mean, any issue, any group of people that needs to be advocated for. We need to change leadership. We have to do something about money in politics. We've said too many times to count that if you don't address money in politics, if you don't address how corporations are treated as people, then you can't really do anything because everything is tied to that. So, to do something about it, though, you need to change leadership. So it's kind of like, okay, what comes first? I mean, obviously you got to change leadership to actually deal with these policies that prevent progress. So, I mean, that fight is on right now. We have more progressives in Congress right now than I think probably that we ever have had. So, just got to build on that. Hopefully we can reach a point where we can call somebody like Bernie Sanders the president of the United States. Because, I mean, that's what I'd like to see in 2021. I'd like to see Bernie Sanders as the next president.
And see, here's the thing, it's like...
Even with him, it will take a while, though.
Yeah, no. The wrong person has the mic. And it's not just has the power, because it's not just about power per se and the ability to like appoint judges, the ability to appoint cabinet positions. Speaking of judges, Trump is appointing federal judges at 6 times the rate Obama did. That could be difficult to undo. But yeah, he has the microphone. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And he knows that that has more influence than any policy action. And so if somebody like Bernie Sanders, he already has a big microphone, no doubt. But man, you know good and well if he becomes the president, it's one of those things where maybe what Gabriel was talking about might happen.
What?
I think it was Gabriel who was talking about like, maybe these liberals in the media, maybe some of the mainstream media will just be like, okay.
Hell no.
No. I wouldn't say it's going to go that far. But what I will say is, I don't think, like, since he hasn't won yet, they can resist all he wants.
Right.
Because they can present any narrative that they want to present. Oh, like, he's not popular, he can't win.
Right.
That's the narrative now.
Right.
And so, based on that, firstly, it's a false narrative. That kind of it serves as the backbone to all of their talking points. Nonsensical or personal attacks. That serves as the backbone. He can't win. He doesn't have support. So, if that myth goes away, what do they have next? And if he beats Trump, like what are they going to say? They're going to have to at some point, again, they're going to have to like grant him access
At some point.
That's why I said
At some point.
Some point. Like
Yeah.
they can continue to deny him access because they're really not obligated to give him access to their network. But if he becomes president, like how much can they actually do to deny him access at that point? He is the damn president and he has a bigger microphone. So
I think if Bernie Sanders is president in 2021, for at least the first 2 years, it will be the same. Actually, it will be vicious. I think coming from the left, well, the supposed left and the right, I think it will be like, all hands on deck, all criticism all the time on President Bernie Sanders. I think that would be the reality that we'd be living in. But come time 2023, the midterms, if the midterms elects even more progressives, then it's gonna be like, oh, okay, this thing's keeping.
Okay, because like
we kind of have to adjust a little bit now.
But who were who were a lot of the midterm candidates inspired by?
It was Bernie Sanders.
That's this time he wasn't even president.
Nah, that's true.
He was just kind of running for president and advocating for working class people and advocating for policies that help most Americans. That's all he was doing, and he influenced a lot of midterm candidates.
See,
so if he's president, how much more influential would he be? Then it would just make their rhetoric, not on the right, but liberals, it would just make them look so ridiculous. They would. I'm not gonna sit there and say they're gonna like kneel down and kiss the ring.
Yeah, exactly. Bow down. Okay, we give it up to you, Bernie, sir.
Master Bernie.
Yeah, no. But yeah, they're gonna put on the full court press, especially like I said, in the first 2 years. I guarantee they will put on the full court press because they don't want a scenario where it's a more equitable, situation. That they don't want that whatsoever. So they're gonna try to do anything they can to prevent that from being the case. But if it ends up being the case, like I said, if there's more progressives that are elected to Congress in 2023, in 2021 and in 2023, if there's more progressives in Congress, I mean, the writing's already on the wall. But if that future is actually there in 2023,
look at the squad in there right now.
I know.
Again, like
there's going to have to be an adjustment from the establishment class, from the corporate class of politicians and media.
Yeah,
there's going to have to be an adjustment.
I agree with Carney Verde. So if Bernie wins, the war will only be starting. True.
Yeah.
True. No. Yeah, that would definitely start a war.
We've always said that it's not enough to get Bernie Sanders elected. That's definitely not enough because he's going to need a lot of help. He's going to need help in Congress. He's going to need help from the public in advocating for the kind of change that we all want to see. So that question that the moderators wanted to throw at the candidates at the first debate, what do you do in Congress if Mitch McConnell still has his power, still is the Senate Majority Leader? What do you do? There's really no answer. You can't deal with him. You can't negotiate in good faith with somebody like Mitch McConnell. So what you do is you appeal to the people that got you elected. They want to see the change that you are advocating for, right? So either you convince Mitch McConnell to do the right thing, or...
But what did he say he was going to do?
Yeah.
Well, who was interviewing him?
Well, Bernie Sanders. I believe Bernie Sanders had said that too.
What? But who, was that? Was that Stephen Colbert? Who was that? It was interviewing him.
Well, no, this is at the debates. The debates where they threw that question. That's what I was talking about.
I was talking about what he was. Maybe it was a network interview. I can't remember what network. I don't know if it was Stephanopoulos. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Tapper, Cuomo, whatever. I can't remember what network it was. And he was asked about McConnell, and because I think this was kind of a long. This is a long-running narrative, and it's true that McConnell is just kind of a blocker.
He's an obstructionist.
He's a blocker. So, like, how are you going to get past that? How are you going to be able to kind of, work past him? And, Bernie's answer wasn't really centered on McConnell. It was like, he's like, what state does he represent? What state does he represent? I mean, he knew the answer, but he wanted to interview the answer. He was like, Kentucky. I was okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go to Kentucky.
I'm going to go to Kentucky. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? To basically expose McConnell to his own people. You know what I'm saying? So.
But that's the only, you can't work with McConnell. Either you make him, through the people, change what he's going to do in the Senate, or you oust him.
That's why I say it's important that he would have that mic. Because he would use it in a more responsible way.
Right.
Trump is just a demagogue, and he just demonizes anybody that challenges the status quo and challenges the system that only benefits a few people. Trump kind of changes it and kind of to act like he is being attacked and, the American way of life is being attacked. That's kind of how he changes it up. So he doesn't use his mic for good purposes. I think Bernie Sanders, when he challenges our leaders to work with the people, he is going to call them out for all the right reasons.
And he realized this even during his first presidential run. In that interview that he did in 2016 with Chris Matthews on MSNBC, he said as much. He said, "Power the purse. I've got the mic. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna appeal to the people. That's the only way to get it done. It can't just be me. This revolution has never been just about me. It's been about all of us. So if you want to enact all the change that that you want to see, you've got to make your case. You've got to either make your politicians do the right thing or force them out. Those are the only two ways this thing goes. There is no middle ground. There is no operating with Mitch McConnell. There's just like if Mitch McConnell returns as Senate Majority Leader in 2021, there's not going to be a lot of progress made until at least 2023. That's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. Until at the very least 2023. But you still have to look at who's going to be up for re-election in the Senate in 2023. I mean, it's just, I don't know. But hopefully, there's a challenger to Mitch McConnell.
That woman?
Yeah, and she ran for Congress, I believe, last year. I think she ran for Congress. Amy something, I think?
I didn't like what she had to say.
Oh, yeah, there's some things I don't
There was some things I didn't like. I really didn't like what she had to say about Trump.
Actually, she talked about, I believe it's the same woman that talked about Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
And how she said that she would have, I think she said like quickly, like, I would have voted to confirm him. And then after the fact, she was like, oh, yeah, you know what? I hadn't read into the details a lot. You know what? I take that back. But this is like recently. That whole Brett Kavanaugh situation took place months ago. If you don't know what that situation was about and all the details about that, like, where have you been? Like, seriously, where have you been? You were comfortable enough to say that, yeah, you would have confirmed him, but now you got backlash and like, oh no, I misspoke. I didn't know what I was talking about.
And she also said some really odd stuff about Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't remember what she said. Damn, what she said. She said something about Trump and about
what's her name? Amy McGrath. Yeah, I knew it was Amy something. Amy McGrath. She lost. Yeah, election day. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, she lost in Kentucky's 6th district to the incumbent Andy Barr, former Marines fighter pilot. Oh yeah, she was the.
The CIA.
She was the CIA Democrat.
Okay.
Yeah, she was one of them at least.
Shout
out. Fighter pilot.
Shout out to Jimmy Gore and Lee Camp. Shout out.
Who else? Your boy that got the clank.
Julian Assange.
Yeah, Julian Assange. Yeah, shout out to him. RT.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah.
CIA Dems.
But yeah, former Marines fighter pilot, not supportive of single payer. She's for the public option, not supportive of marijuana legalization, wants more research. She's that type of Democrat, so. But, of course, she would be better than Mitch McConnell. So, if that's the best to offer.
If that's the best I know, right?
I'm not thrilled with it, but she'll be better than Mitch McConnell. That would be at least that would be progress. It's not enough, but I mean, at least it would be progress. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Carne Verde said Amy McGrath feels like a setup to fail or to fall, like Grimes in 2014 against McConnell. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't remember how close it was between her and I already forgot his name, the incumbent in Kentucky 6. I don't remember how close it was. I don't know how much appeal she has statewide in Kentucky. I don't know.
Oh, that's what she said. That's what it was. It didn't make sense. Again, since she's running against McConnell, that's right. She where was this at? Former fighter pilot, CIA Democrat, Amy McGrath is aiming to take down powerful Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell by accusing him of obstructing key parts of Trump's Drain the Swamp agenda.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You know, I did see that. So McConnell has gotten in the way of Trump actually draining the swamp. Yeah. That's a take. Oh boy, that's an interesting take. So Trump has been trying to do the right thing.
This is a quote from her. Kentuckians voted for Donald Trump because they wanted to drain the swamp and lower prescription drug prices, the Kentucky Democrat told New York Times. A lot of what has stood in the way of what Donald Trump promised is Senator McConnell. You think Senator McConnell is standing in the way of what?
That's a political trick, though, because in Kentucky, Trump has support. But she's trying to replace McConnell. So I'm going to paint McConnell as the boogeyman and not really go at Donald Trump.
See, like, that kind of chess move at the end of the day is not going to work, because that you're still saying that what Trump is trying to do is drain the swamp, and he's trying to make life better. That's what you're saying at the end of the day. You can't go back from that. And if it...
she will. She'll be like, oh, well, now I know. Now I know better. See, I do some more reading. I believe, like I said, I believe she's the same one that talked about McConnell. I mean, not McConnell, but Kavanaugh.
Yeah. Oh, she is. She is. You're right. Yeah, because it's in this article right here.
See, yeah. She'll go back on and be like, you see, when I ran, I really thought that Trump.
No, but see, you can say that 2 years ago. It'd still be dumb, but you said 2 years ago, not now.
Oh, she's gonna try.
McConnell's getting in the way. Trump draining the swamp. So what you're trying to say is Trump, like, can you point to anything specifically that Trump is advocating for, that he's pushing for, that he has put together committees to tackle in regard to draining the swamp?
Her team will have something for her. Her team is going to have something for her.
Come on.
Her team is going to have at least one or two things for her to, support that argument. Yeah, no doubt, man. McConnell's the problem. McConnell has gotten in the way of the drain the swamp strategy. This isn't gonna bode well. Who put these people in position? Like all these swampy,
that makes no sense.
Who put these swampy people into position?
Exactly, it doesn't make any sense.
McConnell?
So let's just say that is true. Like, it's still on Trump. Still be on Trump. It's kind of like
she's gonna run away from it.
It's kind of like Christopher Wray.
Yeah.
He admitted that the majority of domestic terrorism is a result of some kind of white nationalist ideology. Like I said, some
white
kind.
supremacy, something like that. That's what he said. Yeah.
So I'm like, that's not somebody that is, in opposition to Trump in particular, even though he doesn't serve Trump. He was appointed by Trump. That's your boy.
Oh, it looks like there's a new Democratic challenger, too, in that race. Marine veteran Mike Broyer?
Broyer. Yeah, that looks like Broyer.
Yeah, I'm not reading that right now. I'll look at that later. But anyway, we're going to get out of here. Hope everybody liked the show tonight. We'll be back on Thursday. Next week is the debates, second round of debates. So we will probably be doing an extra show on that Wednesday.
We're going to do a shortened show on Tuesday because the debate starts at 8.
Yes. Damn, it starts at 8?
It starts at 8. See, now, when I looked it up, it said 8, but you know how that means. You know how, like, sometimes sports coverage begins at a certain time?
Yeah.
And sometimes the game begins 30.
Yeah.
Begins 30 minutes later. When I looked it up, it said it starts at 8. Now, it didn't say coverage starts at 8. They could have made
usually
coverage.
Starts, but the last debate, it started on time pretty much.
When I looked it up, it said 8. So if that means either we do a short show on Tuesday and then another special show on Wednesday.
When is the next one? July 30th. Yeah, this doesn't say the time. Yeah, if it's at 8 o'clock, then yeah, we'll have to do just some abbreviated show.
Yeah, we'll just do a light show. Do think it's interesting that it's in Michigan.
It's in Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was right. Oh no, I thought that.
No time.
No time.
Where'd you see it at?
Bro.
Because, like, these first 3 links.
Might have been like New York Times. No, I don't know. I just put day.
All right,
I typed it in.
Debate schedule. It's probably not even.
I know. They got a day.
Yeah. Yep. Detroit, Michigan.
Dog, who are these motherfuckers reporting on this, dog? How do you not have the damn time, dog? How do you not?
Here we go. Dang, that was kind of loud. Yeah, 8 o'clock.
PM.
8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
So we'll do a little short abbreviated show on Tuesday and do a little short show on Wednesday talking about debate or depends.
Depends on what we have
Depends
to
on
say.
it depends on what we have to say about it. So I can't say it's gonna be short or long. And then Thursday, I guess we'll be.
Well, it depends on the debate, but yeah.
Well, Thursday we'll be talking about the debate on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, just regular time.
Regular time. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's what we'll do. But still, we'll have a show, in 2 days, and knock it out. We'll have a lot more to talk about. Other issues, I guess. Whatever that comes up. There is a hearing tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? The Terrence? Oh yeah. Maybe we'll have some commentary on that. We might have some commentary.
Oh Lord, I'm not looking. It's one thing. I'm just not looking forward to it. You know what I'm saying?
Might have some commentary. Might have some commentary on the commentary of the hearing. Twitter posts and stuff like that. Might have some commentary.
I wanted to look up something I saw. I guess it was on Fox. It was on the Fox News posted. I'm not sure if it was true, but they reported that Tulsi Gabbard said that Kamala Harris is not qualified to be president.
Who said that?
It says Tulsi Gabbard claims Kamala Harris is not qualified to serve as the commander-in-chief. CNN is reporting it. This is the first time I'm seeing it, so it could be.
You said Tulsi said that about Kamala Harris?
Tulsi Gabbard. Kamala Harris is unqualified to lead military. See, that says something different. Mm-hmm. But see, I've always said that the country is always bigger than our military.
Yeah, of course it is.
And that might be true, but I also think that when you specialize in something, maybe you served in the military for something, that doesn't automatically mean you can run the country. You see what I'm saying?
Of course, Fox News is reporting. They love Tulsi Gabbard.
I mean, Free Beacon reporting it. I mean, Mediate, whatever, Washington. Everybody's reporting. So she must have said something. But again,
she said she's got no background or experience in foreign policy, and she lacks the temperament that is necessary for a commander-in-chief.
Yo, I'm not going to be like Tulsi Gabbard said it, so therefore I'm not going to examine how nonsensical that is. Sorry, I know how much y'all like Tulsi Gabbard. And I like Tulsi Gabbard to some degree as well, but
I don't like that take, though.
I don't like that take because Tulsi's acting like she's not going to have some kind of blind spots either. The government is huge. The government is huge. It has so many different agencies Or she's going to say she has a background in all those agencies? No, they have advisors and they have experts and they put people in certain positions. Are we going to act like that, like the military and individuals who work in the military, whether it be generals or whatever, national security advisors, whatever the position is, you really think that they're not the ones making the decisions? They're not briefing the president? The president gets briefed by so many different people who are qualified to be in those positions. So
I'd rather Tulsi. I mean, if that's her assessment of Kamala Harris, and that she's not qualified on this specific topic, if that's her assessment, then I would like her to say because of this, something substantive, like something that either Kamala Harris said or did in this space.
Not because of like an absence.
Yeah, not because she has no foreign policy experience, so this is a really important subject and she's not ready to lead. That doesn't. I don't.
She doesn't have the experience in this one thing. So, and I think what she's trying to do is
she lacks the temperament.
Like I said, I might have to watch the actual clip to see.
That one's probably worse than the other. Like she has no background or experience. She has no background or experience in foreign policy. Okay, I still don't like that. But she has no. She doesn't have the temperament. What temperament does she have? Like that's a disingenuous attack on Kamala Harris, who I don't support. But to say that she doesn't have the temperament, what about her temperament, I guess, should exclude her from being the president? What temperament? Temperament is like,
that's pretty vague.
How you behave, how you respond to things, how you act.
I don't know.
That's pretty.
I'm trying to play.
That's pretty superficial. That's I don't
too hard.
know. Maybe there was more said than, and I haven't really looked into it. I don't know. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about it next time. Super chats. Everybody talking about super chats, man. Like, we're going to leave out the super chats. Ain't nobody going to leave out no super chats. We'll never forget the super chats. Let's get to them super chats, all right? Gear Randon. Always giving us some dollars. Some contribution money. Always appreciate that, Gear. Ben Out Front, who was also one of our callers tonight. People don't... Well, hold up. Don't ghost us. Smash the like button. That might be something about. Yeah. So I think through the chat and through just what we've seen too. I think the community came to a decision. I don't think you can wear that shirt no more, man. You was ghosting. Did you see yourself? You see yourself? You like clear, dog. It's like see through, dog. It's not showing it right now because you got the hair in the way, but you can see. I get what I'm looking back like I'm about to see that background.
I was about to say, yeah.
Oh yeah, the screen up. Yeah, you little.
Oh, a little jagged around the edges.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's the I don't know if it's the material, the color, whatever.
Be, yeah.
But yeah, you.
Oh yeah. I can kind of see it easier and like smaller. Yeah.
But they've been talking about that for a minute. Like Mike is a ghost. You know how mugs do.
Over-exaggerating mugs, man. That was more over-exaggerating.
Ben, again, support your progressive gladiators on Patreon, LTMB. No doubt, since, Ben, he led the way, then, we're just going to show this little image right here, patreon.com/LTMB. If you would like to become a patron of ours, it's very easy to do so. Just visit the website there. Very easy. You can pick your donation level. We'd appreciate it, no doubt. Appreciate all of our patrons on patreon.com.
Is Kamala Harris and Tulsi Gabbard in the same pool?
I think they are. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they are.
Okay. Well, I don't think this is going to be forgotten in a week. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So you think... What you think Harry's gonna have?
They're gonna set something up. They're gonna set something up. I promise you, they are. It's just like how they set up Biden. That just like how that whole thing was planned.
Yeah.
And she had the T-shirts made before.
Mm-hmm.
You already know that their campaign is like that, strategically planning on dealing with certain people during debates.
Yep, Tulsi Gabbard. on night 2. The only
And see that can backfire because we already know how good Kamala Harris is at debating,
Yeah.
and she doesn't like do it in a way that would, I guess, present it as a personal attack.
No, it doesn't come off as disingenuous.
She
it comes off as sincere. She's very good at it.
What's her job? What's her job, Will?
She's a prosecutor.
Prosecutor.
Yeah.
Cross-examiner. So she does know how to read people. No, you don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate her on that, regardless of how you feel about her politics. You know what I'm saying? You don't do that. You don't play with fire like that.
Also in the super chat, Mandy Sadowski, love you guys, and the heart emoji as well.
I know.
Appreciate that, everybody. Appreciate everybody that was here with us tonight, that decided to contribute to the stream as well.
And Moose Guy, get some pie in your life. Get some pie in your life.
She said she don't like pie?
She said she don't like pie at all. I was like, I don't know how you...
Pumpkin pie?
Sweet potato pie?
Sweet potato
like I said,
pie?
like pecan pie. There's so many...
I mean, peach cobbler, all that, man. I mean, like...
There's so many options for you.
Apple pie? Have you that warm apple pie?
Have you just not met the right pie?
Man.
Have you just not met the right pie?
I don't... Nah, I think she's trolling.
She's got to be true.
You know how she like to...
She like to get attention, to be like saying some stuff.
She like to be L-train.
Yeah, she like to be saying stuff.
Yeah. See? I think that's what Lisa just said, too. L-train. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think she real. I don't think she real with that.
There's no way. There's no way. She probably just said that just so we could say something to her. I don't like pie. Pie is nasty. I can't do pie. You know you lying. How old are you? Like 38? 40 something? You know, 30s?
Don't like pie. Man, get out of here, man. Please. Warm apple pie with some vanilla ice cream. You what? What? L-Train talking the truth right there, man. But all right. We're going to get out of here, all right? We'll see everybody next go round to Thursday, the 25th.
Have a whole new set of stories and issues to discuss.
So we hope to see everybody back here at the same time. Getting to see a little bit more of an audience as well, past few 3-4 times or so. So that's good. Community growing. It's all good. We appreciate everybody doing their part too. If you share our videos, tell somebody about us, whatever, we appreciate that all. So we'll be back in a couple days. Till then, peace out, everybody.
We'll be right back.